the guy Bombad.
Welcome to the Bombadcast.
What is up, Bombad people? This is your boy, the Cannon Junkie. Here we are on the other side. Can you believe it? We're here, our little reaction episode to a lovely tale of just a kindly old man who really just tries to connect with his granddaughter, and
It's a Pixar short.
quite fails. I'm really trying not to call it a little indie movie because that's what everybody does. But we are going to talk about the tearjerker known as the Rise of Skywalker. You're at the Bombad. You know what? This is the Bombadcast. I'm the Cannon Junkie. I'm going to bring in the rest of the crew, my other half, my lovely co-host, Scotty J-Ro. Scotty, how you doing, buddy?
I am currently living off the high of the film I saw, having seen 3 times actually. That's impressive. I'm doing really good actually. It's been kind of weird. Like, I've never had a Star Wars movie except for TLJ when I left, and I'm like, dang, I need to think about this. You know what I mean? And
right.
Actually, we'll talk about that. Joining us today is someone that got the wonderful start on the Bombad career on his Revenge of the Sith episode, which was actually, like, honestly, and this may be going back on a lot of things I've said, but I think that might be one of my favorite episodes of the Bombad build-up, the Revenge of the Sith one. That was a doozy, and a lot of what we saw in this movie kind of parallels what happened. And regardless, we're bringing back our buddy Eric Kottemann. What's up, Eric?
What's up, people? I'm living off the high right now of y'all's reaction video.
Which is still getting a lot of reactions and stuff. Like, now we're getting people coming and going like, oh, I bet they hate it.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, really?
That comment section is still piping hot.
Dude,
so
every minute.
Go check it out.
Yeah, I played, I think, at least once a week for my father, who was all about the hype this year because he kind of understood what Celebration was, whereas in 2017 he didn't know what it was. He thought I was going to Disney World because in Orlando.
Yeah,
and
same thing.
Yeah, that it was part of it, but I was like, yeah, no, Celebration was awesome. I saw the trailer, and then when y'all posted y'all's video, I was like, yeah, my friend Scott has like 1 million plus views on like this video, and I've watched it, and he's just been living on the roll it again business. Yeah. So, like, literally, we watched it.
He quoted it. He quoted when he was at the showing. He was.
This is true.
He was at the showing with us, and Eric and his buddy John. How many people did you buy tickets for?
We had 25 people total.
25 people total, and I was one of them. Nice. Of course, Katie was there, my buddy Chase, and we happened to get invited, and there was 25 of us, and Eric's dad was one of them, and the first thing he says that comes up to me, he goes, I've been going to see these movies for 42 years. You know how long 42 years are? I was 16 years old. He kept saying it, and I was like, it's awesome. But it's true. It is, and that was the reaction I actually wanted to hear the most after the movie ended, because I went up to him like, what did you think? And I'll talk about that later, because generally, I guess we can kind of get into the discussion. Generally, everyone's reaction that I saw the movie with has been really good.
Yeah.
We only had one of our friends who didn't like a couple parts of it, but it was some of the parts I thought were kind of campy too, but we'll get into that later. So I guess to start off this conversation, how many times have you seen it, Jerry, at this point?
I've seen it twice, and that was all on Thursday evening. I did the first ever...
You did that too?
For me, back-to-back screenings. Like, I pieced out to my buddy lives across the street, and I said, I'll see you later, man. I gotta get to the showing. He's like, it's cool, I understand. And I booked it across town. I went to the AMC. I got my seat there, sat in one of those lovely, it's like a love seat couch. that you sit on with a mid-20s gentleman who is very very kind to cuddle with me and we comforted each other and all that. So it's quite nice. But I saw it twice. I had more caffeine than any human being should probably ingest within like 4 hours. And I don't know, man. It's crazy. How many are you up to, Eric?
2 as well.
Do the same thing pretty much.
I kind of did the same thing. I saw it at 6 and then I saw it at midnight.
Nice.
And it was definitely an experience.
Well, the best thing about it was we saw it together that first night at 6 Thursday night, and then we went to his friend's house. And and I should have recorded it, but I guess I shouldn't have. It wouldn't have been. It was kind of us just like making points and trying to work our way through the plot again and discussing things. But that was a solid hour and a half worth of figuring it out and taking in the themes and discussing it. Like, the funny thing was, this might actually sound kind of bad, but like, you can tell when they've got the fans that do love the movies. They love them. But you got the fans that like the books, too. Because, a lot of them was like... People were saying, like, oh, they didn't set it up. This whole Palpatine thing wasn't set up. Like, well, actually, the contingency plan's a big part of Aftermath. And, like...
It's been a big thing throughout all of canon.
Yeah, so it's weird. There's a lot of things that people didn't realize. And then people did realize. And it was fun scrolling through Reddit after, because I had been off Reddit too, and I went under the leaks page, and someone already leaked the voices of the Jedi that spoke. So, by the way, if you're listening to this and you have not seen the movie, you should definitely not be listening to this, because this is like, we're going to be getting into it. But
man, if you see us reviewing like a new thing, we're probably going to spoil it, because I usually like to like just start off right off the bat, like giving like some weird variation of whatever the big spoiler is. But gosh, I saw it the 2 times, and I would recommend that for anybody.
Yes,
for sure.
Definitely.
Like,
the second viewing helped a lot.
Go watch it like 2 times in a row, because that is such a cool experience, and like I think I'm going to try to do it as much as possibly can.
Yeah.
But you said breaking down, that's so awesome, and I remember like going to like I kind of wanted this to be like like a little bit of like we're all going to Denny's after the movie and like like crazy all that stuff. But I was like I got done. I came home. My wife wants to see it. Not a hardcore Star Wars fan, but still is like, I don't want to know anything. And I'm like, I don't want to spoil it, because you'll only go see it once, and I want you to go with me. And I come home, and I can't tell anybody anything.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was like, dude, I was like walking around for most of the day, like day Friday, like a crack addict conspiracy theorist. Just like I was like flinching, like looking behind me, like who's there? What's going on? I don't know until I talked to Scott, and then of course I had like a little 10-minute purge of information. We had like some. It's funny because Scott, I had some of my wife's old friends over from high school, and they were all eating dinner, and you were like, "Hey, can I call you?" And I go, excuse me, I have to go outside and talk about Star Wars.
Well, best part was
just I just unloaded on you, because I was like, there were so many things that like had been bottled up for so long, and so that's what these movies do to us, though. It's like I don't know. What do you guys think about that? The seeing a Star Wars movie for the first time is the best thing ever, but it can also be like. It can be a very good mental health awareness test, to know how far deep you are.
Dude, I want you to talk about it, but like, it was cool seeing. This is our first time him and I saw a movie together, like that
so
movie,
awesome.
and we had seen Joker together. We had seen Spider-Man. We've seen a bunch of movies this past year together. Endgame. We saw a lot of movies together this past year, but not for the first time.
Yeah,
and I mean. What happens to me, and it doesn't happen to him, I know, but whenever, like, Luke first showed up as a Force Ghost, I don't hear any dialogue. I'm, like, losing my mind. I'm crying. I'm looking at Eric. He's looking at me. When we sat with, like, 8 people between us.
Yeah.
So we'd be, like, leaning across the whole row, and, there's... I'm getting chills talking about it, because it was such a cool experience.
Yeah, that's the big thing that I've taken from these viewings. I've kind of made them... a little community event. People, just like the general people, general people that I generally know, just don't go to the movies.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you like throw the big SW word on it, like people tend to show up.
It's awesome.
The fact that I got 25 people to like agree and to reimburse me for the tickets that they bought. Like I used to play in a band and like I couldn't even get them to show up to like go do that.
Yeah.
And that's like something that like they can go see their friend do.
Yeah.
It's a little different though. Star Wars is a little more important than but no, it's a big community event. It's a little more
established. It's just a little bit.
Yeah. It's a little older than some music, but no, it's a great thing to have. I made sure everybody stayed around before they left. We took a big group picture. It's like a big thing.
Awesome.
And I, honestly, maybe 20% of our group was like hardcore Star Wars fans, and that was the group that ended up meeting up after. But still,
the celebration crew. I mean, you had John, you, Wes, and me there, and Katie.
Yeah,
not to say Katie's a super fan, but those are the four people, the three people I was really looking forward to hearing their opinions about. We watched the trailer together that day, and we saw each other that whole rest of the day. It was, and then of course we had his friend Troy, who's super heat. I actually love hearing his point of view, by the way. I want him on this because he had some very beautiful parallels he made. But it was weird because seeing it with him, every time a scene would happen, I would look down and see him and he would be freaking out and I would be freaking out. It was
I'm not as animated as Scott. Watch their trailer reaction.
Yeah.
I was in the main room on the floor and I didn't shed a tear, but that's just my personality.
Yeah.
But it's still a big personal thing for me. And I was sitting next to my dad, so
it's awesome.
There was a few times, every time something big happened, I felt my hands going back, towards my dad, or towards our good friend John.
Yeah.
And then there was a few times where there was a little bit more crazy stuff that I had to look down at you for. I was they just said that. They just did that.
Yeah.
They just,
trying to remember specifically, I think it was when the Force Spirit showed up. That was definitely one of them. I remember looking at you and be
I think, but the biggest thing, and our whole row, which is composed of...
Oh, it gives me chills.
Composed of, hardcores and just, casual fans and just, and some people who just, have never gone to a Star Wars movie, within the year that it came out. Mm-hmm. When the Force Lightning came out of Rey's hand, our whole row, jumped up like a bass booster, and a subwoofer.
Yeah.
And I looked real quick.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." Everybody was freaking out.
And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't cry then. I was more in awe. But seeing it again made me cry because the way she screams Chewie. Look out for her next time.
Oh yeah,
I noticed. So heartbreaking. Right. She just killed Chewbacca.
Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing.
That's one of the biggest things about this movie. Everybody is on point, no matter how big or small their role is. Everybody's on point.
Even John, when he yelled it too, was crazy. So.
All of it, that's a good point.
Clearly,
Eric.
they had not seen the trailer.
No, I mean, but even me knowing I saw the trailer, but they do that. They do that with Endgame. They had half the stuff in Endgame trailer wasn't there. Scarlett Johansson with a gun and stuff like that.
Unfortunately, the way my brain works, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the way my brain works, when that transport exploded, my heart sank for a second, and I was like, "There's no way they killed Chewie." And then my brain went, "No, he's in the Falcon with Lando." In the third act. Yeah, they've already shown it in the trailer.
You're right.
But it worked.
It did work.
It worked, and I was just like, "You don't kill the family dog."
No,
that. I've heard somebody say that on some podcast before.
What if they did that though, and it's the third act is it's Lando and Neenum with a fur coat on or something. They just superimpose Chewie's head over it. We just didn't notice it was really shoddily done, So
yeah,
no, yeah, I don't know that one. And Scott, I believe I told you how that moment kind of didn't really hit for me because I was one of those guys in the middle of that movie. I ordered a pizza for my wife and child.
Oh yeah.
During that part because I didn't know that was coming up, and it was just I had a lot of weird stuff going on that night, and I was like, okay, let me get this thing going for you because I was trying to have a perfect night for them and me, and just the timing didn't work out, and so second viewing. Oh, a lot better on that one. I that was insane. I was like, man, I wish I would have caught that the first time, not secondhand, but you just like imagine the. I don't know that part is so sweet.
Yeah,
and stuff, and I still, like I say, on the third, like I really, that's what I say. The third viewing, I'm probably going to catch a little more. Because obviously, I think I noticed the second time. Well, there's two transports when they land. Yes. You only see one, and it takes off from behind the rock and stuff. So that's it. So at that point, I was like, okay, I can see. Okay, so you did a good bait and switch. That was a good bait and switch and stuff.
There was several scenes like that were like really just well done and small twist, and it felt like a very good modern movie. You know what I mean? Like it had some stuff that was like, oh, this is nice. There's like a return to some things, other things very new. I don't know. I guess my initial reaction after the viewing, I didn't know what to think of it initially, and I know we can all agree that first hour and a half was a lot at first for a Star Wars fan, because we're picking everything down, we're taking all of it in, we're figuring out the plot, we're figuring out how we feel about it, and like, I mean, I was sitting there like, this is so much, but with each following viewing, I've kind of like, I get it, like I know where they're going, I know where it ends up, I'm not as anxious anymore, and they started off this movie with a banger. I did not think they were going to start off with what they started off with.
That was my first thought. Was like I turned over to my guy to the guy I went with to the first showing, and I was like, okay, we're going here now, I guess. So, wow, this is way faster than I thought it would pick up.
Yeah, I figured they were going to start with that exclusive scene that they put out. I was like, yeah, I definitely think this is the beginning. And they put it out like a week and a half prior. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help myself, and I actually made Scott watch it. Yeah, I was like, Scott, I know you're trying not to watch things, but
that was so worth it.
I was like, you really need to watch this, because if I think the movie's going to go where it's going to go, and they start off like this.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the exact first shot, it was the whole sequence with Kylo going to meet Palpatine.
Well, one thing I will say real quick, he said the line that Jerry had been voting for. The dark side of is the pathway to many abilities.
Yeah, I mean, that was cool. I definitely think that was going to be that's their story explanation on how he got back, and I know that's a big criticism right now of like not visually seen or being told point by point how he came back.
That's the nature of Star Wars.
I agree. I agree, but I kept, this was like a big thing during our discussion after the movie. I was like, there's going to be a comic, there's going to be a novel.
And everyone's like, but we don't want to do that. I'm like, well, you might have to.
Yeah, you might have to. Because,
do you want to know?
But yeah.
Yeah, this movie couldn't have been, it could have been 3 hours and 30 minutes, and I would have gone and watched it, but it wouldn't have made, up to like, I think it made close to 200 mil this opening weekend, or that's like the rumor.
Right.
It wouldn't have done it.
It wouldn't have done it. Nobody wants to go see. I mean, think of The Irishman. Like
that's. Ooh.
So.
I can't even remember if I finished The Irishman yet. I think I did.
I haven't even started. But
it took me like 5 nights because I have a kid. So.
Right. But with Star Wars, you're right. There's a lot you can do with the crawl, and for this story and this movie, is it really that important to know how Palpatine is there? No, but just as fans. Even I want to know, like, how did he actually do it? Yeah. And, like, Dominic Monaghan gets this one line where he just, like, throws all the possibilities. He's just, like, cloning. I don't even remember the exact
is it cloning some Sith magic, dark magic, something like that. And, like, he kept naming stuff. And, I mean,
it just, like, represents how everything else. I think the whole movie is really, really fast, actually. Like, I mean, I haven't seen the third time, but the second time I was like, this is the fastest Star Wars movie.
Definitely is.
And that's not necessarily a great thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. With Mando being...
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. And with Mando being like the main Star Wars content we've been getting, this year so far.
Streamline, yeah.
It is very slow paced.
Yes.
And, I have more knowledge on the prequels, and I feel like the prequels actually take their time.
Dude,
I may be wrong on that.
No, I was watching episode 1, and episode 1
right.
has such a smooth, like, compared to this movie, and I was watching it right after I'd seen it, and I was like, damn, these movies are way more smooth.
Yeah, that's a very George Lucas-y kind of take your time to tell a story.
Then builds up really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I'll just get into it. Like, I really do like this movie. I love Star Wars. I love the fact that it exists. I don't know if I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's such a weird complicated relationship I have with this movie in particular. But I'm so happy it exists.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if I wanted the version where Snoke is the big bad, because I think that was probably maybe the original intent. And to have Palpatine back, it just makes more sense for the story of Skywalker. Yeah. But yeah, I know Scott. He has pronounced that it's
my favorite.
It's his favorite Star Wars movie, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
right.
I think it took the third viewing and like to think about like all the subtle things they set up, and like they still had a lot of campy, silly stuff, and I don't know. It's weird. Right now, I figured out it's my favorite because I love The Last Jedi, but it's not my favorite because it's Star Wars, but it's not super Star Warsy. You know what I mean? This most recent movie was so Star Warsy. The feeling of it, you kind of have to know what has come prior to really see this movie. People were saying, no, you don't. You don't have to know. You don't need to see TLJ. But I really think this is probably the first one where you really got to know the situation, because if you don't know who Palpatine is, it's no payoff for you. Like that, just a random bad guy. It almost makes it does a disservice to the whole sequel trilogy if it's, if you look at it like that. But I look at it as a whole.
Right. Right. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Scott, but I would just, all the people talking about how this like completely retcons Last Jedi and everything, like, and like, oh, this is the best of the new trilogy. I've seen that a lot. I don't know if I agree with that. Eric, I'm kind of in your boat, man. I love this movie. I'm so glad it exists. I'm so like the parts the new things it introduced and the things it revealed, I love more and more the more I think about it.
Right. Yeah.
But like it was so breakneck.
Yeah.
At first, it was. This is gonna sound like a really bad comparison, and I don't mean insult by this. And I'm not like. I love this movie. I really, really like it, and I'm really excited to see it again. Like, the score is amazing, everything. I love this. It felt as choppy the first time watching it as the first time I watched Batman vs. Superman in theaters. And I enjoyed that film, but it was like, and I'm not saying it's the same quality, but like the choppiness reminded me of like, I'm really wanting to get in with this, but you're really like, I don't like how fast we're cutting to stuff. Which, again, some of it ended up making sense. Like, there's one time where it, like, cut from, I think, Ben to Poe and Finn, and then it cuts to Rey talking to Leia, and then it cuts to Ben again.
Oh, the one where he's touching the helmet. That was,
Yeah, but that ended up being, it was like the same, it was like a parallel scene and stuff, so that was like, okay, I was like, okay, we're not going to a different thing to see a different, we're good. I back to your point you were making, Scott. You absolutely need The Last Jedi to make this movie work. I'm saying, if you think it's the best of the trilogy, you don't get it without TLJ, whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. So, I mean, just so many things JJ picked up from TLJ and carried it into this film and expanded on it. You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know. I think it seems almost a little, do with it as you will, I guess.
Yeah.
I will say.
Well, one thing I want to mention real quick, just to plug what we've done before, but the Bombad build-up, I think, really prepared me for a lot of the thematic things that happen in this movie, because in terms of themes, this movie does ooze a lot of ooze is a very gross word. This movie does, like, it bleeds into the rest of the other movies, because, like, there's parts where, of course, we know Luke and Yoda parallels. I love how Anakin and Ben are such different characters, and the Rey doing the healing thing, and Luke training Leia was really cool, and the importance of last names now, and how the entire sequel trilogy now has a very different perspective than it once was before, because this entire time it's been a Palpatine and a Skywalker at odds, which had been before, but then they conjoin and come together, and they're a dyad in the Force, and whenever his power awoke, and I think he activated her power, it's like you watch these other movies now with a very different perspective. And I remember texting, I think when I texted you and Jerry the same thing that day, I said, you will watch these last movies for in a completely different way for the last time when you see this movie tonight. And I think it's kind of weird how that holds true very much like that.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of what we see and the idea of redemption for Ben makes a lot more sense now, and how they set it up in the other movies with the Leia connection and then the Leia connection in this movie. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to say that this movie does not do anything, because of TLJ or vice versa. This TLJ didn't do anything for this movie, I think it's actually quite the opposite, because those Force bond moments, I mean, it's completely foreshadowed when Ren touches his hand, there's water on his glove,
Right.
That then she pulls he pulls a necklace off of her, and she cuts the pot with the red stuff in it, and it pours out in the ground below him. Like, it's like there's some crazy things done in this movie that TLJ beautifully set up.
It's it's beautifully set up. I had another thing to say, but it completely left my brain.
No, it's all good.
No, but Scotty, speaking of the Bombad buildup, one theme you guys noticed that Scotty really zeroed in on, this was your baby, man. Like the whole Skywalkers and the correlation between Skywalkers and fire in important moments in their life.
Yeah.
And while, again, spoilers for this movie that's only been out for not even a week by the time you're hearing this, Rey is a Palpatine, but still, she's the hero of our story.
Yeah.
She has a moment with fire in this movie.
She does.
And that's what I thought about you, like in that scene, because that's like you were absolutely correct. That was her turning point in that film.
Fired.
Because she took that tie there and she was like, I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah, I'm gonna learn and know it. The best thing is, my point I made on the TLJ episode, she's gonna learn just like Luke did. Every Jedi learns from their master, even the good and bad things. I'm gonna run away and get away from this situation. And that was my biggest argument about Luke and TLJ, was he just learned from his masters. Rey does the same exact thing until the tie's burning in front of her. She's throwing firewood into it, and then Luke catches the saber. And it's Eric has a very particular take on this part. What do you think of that? The second he gets the saber,
A lot of people think this is a middle finger to The Last Jedi. I don't necessarily agree with that as a whole, but if there is one line, it's the opening line with Luke where he says, the weapon of a Jedi should be treated with better respect. Or something like that.
Yeah.
More respect.
Yeah.
I think that was the big... If JJ does not like The Last Jedi, which,
never know.
Can't prove either way. Mm-mm. That was like the biggest jab. And I think there was a little bit of a jab in the first line of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
This will begin to make things right.
That's it, yeah.
And
JJ might as well just stand for jab.
But no, to your point, Eric, it could be a jab.
I agree.
But it also, in a weird way, it could be Luke's realization.
Story-wise, it makes sense because it's Luke being like, and he further explains it, like, I was wrong. Like, you shouldn't be here. Fear is the reason that I stayed here.
That's awesome.
And
which is brought up in TLJ. That's what I think people are missing. Like, you probably watched TLJ like once or twice. Yeah. And that's the whole end of the movie. Luke learns from Yoda, like, okay, I got to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, you can dislike The Last Jedi if you want. Like, I don't even, like I was telling Scott earlier, I don't even know how I feel about the movie until I have Rise of Skywalker to watch at home. Mm-hmm. Like, I honestly don't know. I like The Last Jedi. I was a big Last Jedi supporter and defender. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like, I don't know. Because, not because of things that it did in that movie, but because of things that happened in this movie because Last Jedi exists.
Yes.
And that has nothing to do with the movie itself. It has to do with JJ's relationship with the movie and what story he wanted to tell. Mm-hmm. So that's something that y'all could probably get on a deeper level on like a completely different episode. Just like the consistency of this trilogy.
Yes.
Like, it is not that consistent.
There's some things that are greatly consistent. There's some things that I find, unfortunately, might taint a rewatch.
And that's just real world problems with, a company acquiring an IP that they haven't owned. Yeah. And trying to appease a extremely passionate and extremely vocal and extremely diverse fan base.
Yeah.
that has different opinions, literally on like which trilogy is the best and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, but anyway, my point being is you can dislike The Last Jedi all you want, but like the relationship between Rey and Kylo, and then Luke learning his lesson, is essential for this movie.
It is.
And
absolutely,
even if you cannot stand the movie, like you would be a fool to say that those things don't contribute to what happens here. Like literally, Force Skyping is so important that if they just would have dropped, let's say JJ directed episode 8 and it never happened.
God.
And then it happens in 9, people would just be like, well, what the heck is this?
That?
Like,
yeah.
What the heck is Force
Right.
Skyping? And then what I also like to call Force Dropbox.
Yeah.
With the
Force drive.
with the passing of the lightsaber, which I'm into, especially if in further canon it is explained that since they're a dyad in the Force that they can do this.
Yeah.
Like this can't just be a Jedi OP ability from this point on, because a lot of people are like, well, this negates everything about healing Qui-Gon and da.
Well, I want to now. Can I talk about that
go
real
ahead.
quick? Because the big argument I've seen, and a friend of mine, I went to see a show last night, and these are two great friends of mine, but they were, I don't understand why couldn't Qui-Gon do that, and I had to say, like, they didn't have the books that Luke got. Okay, Luke had found these books that then gave to Rey that are these ancient Jedi texts, and you got to think the Jedi before. In the prequels are so dogmatic that they probably would have been against Force healing to begin with, Maybe. It wasn't in Clone Wars. None of that. All that stuff was still consistent,
Yeah, what if we get a Old Republic trilogy and that's all over the place?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That'd be great.
Because then you have a connected tissue.
Exactly.
And I think they might be doing something with baby, the
Little
child.
man. Yeah.
And, exploring that.
Yeah. Well, and it obviously in the film is set up as something that's it isn't just like, oh, let me just do this like a force push, like I'm just going to heal you real quick. It's like you're giving up your life force a little bit. Like Rey makes that line when she's healing the snake and stuff like, hey, let me just give you. I'm just giving a little bit of life force. It's okay. This isn't like like I'm just gonna walk around the corner of the 7-Eleven and grab a Band-Aid for you. It's like. This is something that takes a lot of great effort, almost like Luke's force projection. Even if you're like as strong as Luke Skywalker himself, it could probably kill you. It's probably going to kill you. And I think that's kind of interesting the way they're. I don't know. They've introduced a lot of new and good things and. I know there's not much example of it in the movies, but it's very prevalent in canon that every Jedi has a different thing they're better at, right? It's kind of like, in Clone Wars, I think Rey has a little bit of this too. Quinlan Voss has the ability, what is it? I forget what it's even called. It's like where he can touch objects and see their past. Like who's used them and
Force
stuff.
psychometry or something? Psychometry?
Yeah, psychometry. Yeah. So I don't know, just I understand because for especially casual viewers, it's like, well, why? And the answer to that for a casual viewer who doesn't want to get into all this stuff, I would just say, they're trying to give us things we haven't seen in these movies, and so George started in the middle. So we're eventually going to run into some things. We're like, well, why didn't they use it in this? Yeah, Right. And the answer is. Because we didn't think about it then, and we thought it would look cool in this one, so here we go.
I gotta say one thing. But when this is a parallel to Revenge of the Sith, but I think it could easily be answered here. The fact that when Anakin force chokes Padme and she falls to the ground and then she dies of a broken heart, quote unquote, that could easily been now changed to Palpatine and be like, no, I pulled her life force to keep you alive, Which then can parallel what happens later in the movie between Ben and Rey, which we can get into later. But I don't know. The new Force abilities that were displayed were really well done. If I can say anything about it, they not only they have the Force Dropbox, which I love. That's a great name for it.
That's brilliant. Yes.
The Force Dropbox was great. The Force healing was great. I loved how powerful Palpatine was, but I also loved. It's established the very first line in the movie with Rey was what is the exact word? Dang it! It's like all the Jedi are in me or something like that. I feel she's trying to get in touch with all the Jedi again, and then when she needs it, she can get in touch with them. In the very end of the movie, it's just
right. That was a very in-game moment for me, where it's like Palpatine's like, "I am all the Sith." She goes, it's almost like an "I am Iron Man."
Yeah, it was.
I am all the Jedi. It was still really. Oh man, I loved that.
Yeah, it was cool. That's like that's a big criticism of it, but that's just in movies in general. Remember, Lord of the Rings, you brought a man to kill me, and then she takes off her helmet.
Yeah,
I am no man.
Yes.
That's a great line, though.
Yeah. It's it's
right.
People are like, well, Endgame just came out. I'm like, well, I don't know.
They were in production around the same time too. It's like sometimes these. Have you ever noticed? I notice things all the time where movies are in production at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometimes can have a similar theme or feel. Just it kind of depends on, I think, the atmosphere. And again, this is coming from a guy who I live in Podunk, Michigan right now, and knows little to nothing about filmmaking. But I don't know, I feel like sometimes there's just kind of an idea that might be floating around certain sections of pop culture, and it's like, oh, that'd be kind of neat, or it's, I don't know. This was basically that was the culmination of the Marvel movies. This is the culmination of the Skywalker saga in the same year. So you're going to have similar beats, you know? It's just kind of while I did make that an immediate connection, I did love that because I don't know. We're jumping all over the place, and there's a lot of stuff to cover in this, but I just I don't know, man. I'm really kind of digging this. Let's just go stream of consciousness. So, well,
one thing I do want to bring up real quick before I kind of want to throw in some Easter eggs and kind of bring up some cool cameos. But in regards to that scene in particular, a lot of people were saying on Twitter, unfortunately, they were like, "Why didn't they talk to Ben? Ben has more of a connection, but Ben just got redeemed. There's no way Ben would be so in tune with the light side of the Force that he could have the ability to communicate with the past like Rey can. Rey's been studying for a year now.
Yeah.
And
plus Ben he got thrown in a hole.
And Ben just turned, and I don't even know if he shows any Force abilities except for Force healing. That's it. And it's kind of cool that it shows that he also knew it too. So it might be a new thing that Luke discovered with the text. I don't know. It's interesting, but let's get into the cool little cameos of Easter eggs. You want to start off with one, Eric?
Yeah, cameos. I mean, this one's kind of oddball, but the Dio is talking, and when he first talks, I lean over to John. I go, "I bet you that's J.J. Abrams." And he's like, "Why?" I was like, "I just bet you." That sounds like him.
Yeah.
I pitched it down in my mind, and I was like, "I believe that's J.J." Mm-hmm. And when the credits, which by the way, the credits are running a marathon. This movie is so fast that I couldn't keep up with the credits. It's like they knew Disney Plus exists. I'm like, well,
let's just keep it slow.
A lot of people are getting this movie, dude. It flies by, or I don't know if that's I don't know. They can't be the projectionist, but it is fast, dude. Lights, they are hyperspeed jumping.
Light speed skipping.
Light speed skipping
through those credits. But no, when the
Force Dropbox, I don't know.
When Dio was going by and it said J.J. Abrams, I was like, yes!
It's amazing.
Nice.
That actually might be one of my favorite little droids now because
Scott loves him.
Hello. Thank you. Everyone, I called him. What was it? Friday? We had
probably.
I called him Friday. We had talked so much the last couple of days. I went hello.
No thank
you. And the best was he took the 3PO role when 3PO couldn't do it, and when 3PO was like, "I'm taking one last look at my friends," he goes, "Sad." No, that's amazing.
I love that. Yeah. And then, what a cool idea though to do a little roly droid that actually talked. I thought that was so fresh and new. I love that. But I did not pick up on that J.J. Abrams thing for sure. So no.
Well, he was also a Sith droid too. To think he was chilling with a Sith, I guess a Jedi killer.
What was that guy's name? I forget that name. I forget that guy's name every time.
I don't know.
Because I thought they were saying OG in the movie.
OG.
Like OGE
or something.
But I think it's OC. OCEE or something like
that.
Another thing people have been picking up on that is that BB-8 fixes him.
Yeah.
And it kind of parallels the life essence thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what.
That's a good point.
I don't know if that's what you would call it.
No, I think so. Gives him,
but just battery. Like a cool little parallel. Mm-hmm. Straight up, I don't even remember if, like, is Dio around after that big like sequence with 3PO? Like, does he do anything else after that?
The only thing he does do is the coolest part about Dio, though, which makes sense, is this is where they realize how important Dio is when Dio's digging through the stuff, and where's your friend? And he says it to John Boyega. He's like, oh, I don't think she's coming back or whatever. And he goes,
I miss her.
I miss her. And then he's like, or something along the lines, but Dio ends up spilling the beans to Finn that he was on the ship, and they were going to bring a little girl from Jakku to Palpatine on Hexagon.
Right.
Yes, and then they're like, wait, and that's where that gets really good. And then I think one of the best, that's where I get chills talking about, that's when it became my favorite, is whenever Luke's X-Wing turned on, and R2's like, whoa, Luke's X-Wing's on, and he's like, I think something's wrong with him. They plug it in, and no, his X-Wing is on, and it's like, that's Red 5, and she's showing us the way to Hexagon. I'm like, oh, I think that's where it like clicked. I loved this movie, because it was a weird way, it was not a very Star Wars way to approach a plot, too. It felt very different from most Star Wars plots, because it kind of, the spy being introduced. I don't know. I guess we're kind of walking in circles now. Okay, so
can I talk about the other cameo?
Another cameo.
Okay, so I would like to give myself credit for having good eyes, but during the first screening, I was the only one in our row who noticed John Williams was the bar tavern or whatever barkeep. Nice. And I'm working on a project called Tavern. I don't even that word. That word didn't need to come out of my mouth. I hear bar and then tavern comes out, like the bar tender.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 seconds, and he looks up and he kind of just shakes his head and goes back down. And I went, John Williams.
Yeah, I did not notice that at all, because they did a push on him, and it should have made sense, but I didn't. I come right over my head.
And I'm just like, 42 years, and this is the first time this man has a cameo in the movies.
Isn't that
and I was like, really
that's
cool.
What I was looking. I was like, that's John Williams, isn't it? Like the first, I noticed that too, but I was like, I don't really know. Like, it was so fast.
Yeah.
Like, who was it? But that, you're absolutely, that was John. And oh my gosh, that was, how have they not put him in a movie?
I don't know.
In all this time, like, this is the last one he's scoring, and now he's in it.
I guess that makes sense.
Can I bring in one thing you noticed too, and you texted me?
Yeah, go ahead,
dude. The Pisana celebration, it dawned on me after Eric sent me the text, seeing it for the third time. He goes, "This celebration only happens once every 42 years," and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yes,
it's. I know it's great. So
it just clicked with me too. Like,
and dude, he texted me like, "Oh, it's interesting that he noticed that." And then I'm watching the movie and I'm like, "Oh wait, like, and this the original Star Wars movie was 42 years ago." It just boom and
seeing the second screening I had at midnight, it was me and 2 other people, so it was very, very quiet. So I'm glad, because I got to pay attention to a lot of the words. Another little cameo that's like not so crazy.
You're good at this. You really notice this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I was looking forward to the second video.
Okay.
I was looking at the credits, which were flying at 60 miles per hour. I'm a big Beatles fan, and George Harrison's son actually voices one of the stormtroopers, Danny Harrison.
No, he did not.
Yeah,
what?
I think he hangs with JJ or something. I don't know if he did some role for that, but I was like, oh, Danny, like, and before there was Beatles, there was Star Wars for me, but after Star Wars left, Beatles became like my next big thing, and that was like, Star Wars was like my upbringing, and then the Beatles was like a big thing. And I want to.
Oh, keep going.
No. And so anyway, that was just cool. And then Scott's got the additional voices pulled up.
So Eric's really good about watching the credits. Oh, what's up?
Right. Can I say who I thought that I picked out a voice, and I want to know if I'm correct.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Bulio at the beginning.
Bulio,
who gives the information, then he gets his head cut off and thrown on the table and stuff.
Win the war.
Was that Mark Hamill? Win the war. Was that Mark Hamill?
I don't know.
It's a voice I recognize, but looking at that additional cast list, I was trying to pick out who it was. I thought it was Clancy Brown, who was just in the Mandalorian, but his name wasn't anywhere to be.
It just had that very, like, that Mark Hamill, like, I don't know, a little bit of the joke. You hear a little bit of Joker in there. You can hear a little bit of his, he's doing one of these,
I'm looking right now. Vanity Fair put a lot of voice cameos in there. They're talking all about the Jedi voice cameos, which we'll get into way later. But I can't find it currently. But I will say this. Oh, hold on. Never mind. Oh, the other cameo, I noticed this on my third viewing. Lin-Manuel Miranda, he is like right as the Falcon lands, or right as the Falcon's landing, he shows up.
Yeah.
You can see that just half of his face.
I didn't
in which
see him.
scene?
Huh?
Which scene with the Falcon landing?
At the very end of the movie. Very end of the movie,
See, because I remember now that he was supposed to be in it, because I remember he was on like the behind the scenes reel that was released not that long ago, but my gosh, I did not see him in the entire film.
Okay, one other thing too, and no one else, maybe I noticed this in my screening, I don't think it clicked with anyone after I said it either, but Poe walks up right after they land the Falcon for the first time, and it's after him and Rey get in a little argument, and he says, "Hey, Junior," and he screams it at the Mon Cala, and he's like, "Yes, sir." It made sense. Like, oh my god, that's Akbar's son, Aftab. Right. But Chris Terrio voiced Aftab. I did not know that.
What?
It's awesome.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's awesome. Yeah, I loved that little detail because I caught that the first time. Like, because I saw, like, we've seen him in everything, and like I read that that basically prelude to Rise of Skywalker comic.
Yeah.
Where they basically go recruit Aftab and the rest of the Mon Cala that are surviving. And I loved that he called him Junior. That's that's just so Poe, and that was just so like such a good little detail that they put in there. So
and before I go and read the additional voices list, I wanted to bring up how awesome was it to see Wicket again, just even for that brief second on and you saw
his son.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
But it was Warwick's son.
It was Warwick's son who
I sat next to at Celebration for a couple of the panels.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you remember going to the Clone Wars panel together. It was like, just walk right in. You go right up to the front, close as you want. And he happened to go to the, what was it? What panel was it?
I think it was Fallen Order.
Yeah. It sits right next to you. It's like, it's. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But, that scene with Endor and Cloud City, I would almost consider those cameos, too. And Jakku. Right. Dude, did you notice the Holdo maneuver happened in the Endor one? Go back and look. There's a ship split right in half, so someone must have launched it. I don't know. I want to see more answers on that.
Well, the thing though that I loved about this movie, which was kind of like a little Easter egg, they were was it Dominic Moynihan's
he
character?
mentioned
like, why don't we just Holdo maneuver pull a bunch of Holdo maneuvers? Which is something people have been saying, like, broke Star Wars, the Holdo maneuver, and they're like, that was a 1 in a million chance. I love that they did that. Because that's what I've been saying the whole time. Like, it was like not even like, I don't know. Anyway,
look, I'm gonna show it to you in your camera real quick, Jerry. But someone must have done the Holdo maneuver because like that's what it looks like. Look, I don't know if you can even see it. Hold on, let me see what you see. Because I don't have my monitor up.
I mean, if you lower a little bit, I can see. But yeah. I think Luke Skywalker appeared in the Force and did that with his like hand.
Oh yeah, like he should have in The Last Jedi.
Split it right down the middle.
Another cool kind of parallel. I don't know if you noticed this either, but when Han shoots behind his head, so does Kylo Ren when he's running. Thought that was great.
Kylo's always had a little bit of swag though.
Oh, totally.
That's the thing.
Everything about they put so much Han Solo in him there in that last sequence. The big confrontation with Palpatine, between him jumping and catching the chain and going ow.
Yes,
I put a little more Han Solo gruff on it, but
there was a B-1 battle droid too, and at Kojimi at the Spice Hideout. There was a B-1 battle droid hanging on top of the stairwell. It was not where it was in the trailer. It was on top of the stairwell.
I was going to say, I kept looking for it in the shot where it was in the trailer. I couldn't find it, so.
Yeah, it was definitely on top of the stairwell for this one, which I thought was pretty cool. Okay, I want to go and read the additional voices, and we can also read the Force Spirits voices as well. The additional voices thing was interesting because it was like, Eric sent it to me. He's like, it's like the Star Wars family. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Now, some of them I know, some of them I really don't know, but I'm going to go through pretty much every one of them. David Accord, Dan Adler, D. Bradley Baker, Verona Blue, Steve Blum, David Collins, freaking awesome.
He's the one who got shot in the eye by Lando.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
he wrote it on Twitter.
I was gonna say he posted on Twitter like I'd rather take an arrow to an eye. Or
Jonathan Dixon, Terry Douglas, Robin Atkins Downs, Amanda Foreman, Gianna Gavankar, awesome.
Nice.
Gray Griffin, Stephen Groom, Bobby Hall, Mike Holland, Karen Hugh, Tom Kane, Lex Lang, Vanessa Lingus, Yuri Lowenthal, Vanessa Marshall, Donald Mustard, Nicole Nasca, Michelle Rejwan, pretty cool, Julian Stone, Tara Strong, Fred Tatkaskor, James Arnold Taylor, Jessica Tuck, Carl Urban, Reggie Watts.
Urban. Do you know who Carl Urban is?
No. Who's Carl Urban?
If it's the same Carl Urban, it's Éomer.
Éomer
really?
from Lord of the Rings and Bones in the new JJ Star Trek movies.
Wait. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
The new Judge Dredd, all that, man.
That's awesome.
I freaking love him.
Reggie Watts I thought was particular. Do you know who Reggie Watts is?
Yeah.
He's like a loop comedian. He's a comedian, but he like does all of his stuff using loops. Reggie Wilson. Reggie Wilson. Where did I just read that at? Reggie Watts. Deborah Wilson. I'm sorry. Sam Witwer and Matthew Wood. Matthew was pretty, and Sam Witwer. I love those last two.
Did they continue their joke of like upping the like? Did you see the new B-37?
Yeah, isn't it David Collins and Sam Witwer who always do it?
Yeah.
I wonder if they were the two who got mind tricked. Jedi mind tricked.
That'd be great.
See, I must have like really been like going crazy with the voice acting in this one because when I heard their voices. For some reason, I thought one of them was. I'm trying to think of his name. I thought one of them was T.J. Miller.
Yeah.
For some, I don't know. I was like, that really just kind of sounds like T.J. Miller. Like,
I thought
really
when that first
guys.
by the body style, and maybe you'll look at next time. I thought how cool would it have been if that was Kevin Smith and Jay Muse, because the body's like slightly different in height, and the way they're like, man, that's cool. I'm glad you're here,
dude.
That would be amazing. I don't know, but that's a pipe dream.
That would be pretty great.
Because they got thrown in the. The clip was them ripping Star Wars, but during the Star Wars Legacy trailer, for Rise of Skywalker, it was just that scene of them about the fight with Mark Hamill in the Strikes Back.
The knob.
That'd be so cool if JJ put them in Star Wars.
I don't know. I think it would be
beautiful. He hinted at the fact that Kevin could be in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see his name in the credits. And maybe that could have been an uncredited thing. I could see Kevin being like, don't put me in the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Also, and not that I even have the voice actor's name, but they're not actually voice actors, but I could probably find a better quality version of it. But Voices of the Jedi Past. I love that that's what they called it in the title. In the end credit part, Voices of Jedi's Past. Of course, we get. I'm going to read the actual Jedi's name: Anakin Skywalker, of course, Hayden Christensen. We get Luminara Undell, Unduli. Who is Luminara? I don't remember Unduli.
Luminara Unduli is the one in. She's the one who she's Barriss Offee's.
Oh, Barriss Offee's master, the green
and the one that Kanan and Ezra go to find in the first season. They're using her bones to lure Jedi, which is like, that's metal as heck, man.
Yeah. We have Ahsoka Tano, which is actually one Eric heard. Like, the very first time, right?
I didn't hear Ahsoka the first time, but I assume that's where her cameo was, because JJ really heavily hinted it.
Yes.
And her having some kind of cameo.
One thing I will say is I do not mean to brag, because I had to brag to Eric that night. But I found a leak bro. Not even a leak, just a picture that was posted of the Jedi Past voices, right? Mm. And I screenshot it and sent it to Alex Damon. And I said, do you think Ahsoka's dead now? And he's like, wow, I didn't even catch that. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I kind of just, like, saw something he didn't even see. And I'm like, I feel pretty good about myself. I don't mean to brag, but, like, that's like the first person I thought of. Like, I gotta message him because I wonder if he noticed. But,
Star Wars is like his job, and you showed him. So
exactly. No, I love that they had. Actually, I don't love it because it didn't make any sense. Leia Secura. I guess she's one of the ones that says Rise. Like it was kind of
Secura.
Kind of a throwaway line. Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi was great, and they even had
Ayla Secura. Sorry, just real quick. We were talking on the live stream the other night with Pete and Around the Galaxy. She also does the voice of, and I never really played Knights of the Old Republic, but she does the voice of
Jennifer Hale does.
Jennifer Hale. What's Bastila?
Oh, okay, good to know.
So
that's kind of cool.
A lot of people are saying that that's their headcanon is it's Bastila.
Wow.
But I think the point they're trying to make is like these are all the Jedi of the past, and I don't know, like was she doing a French accent or not? Because that's Ayla Secura. Ayla Secura is Twi'lek, so
I don't know.
I couldn't.
I mean,
remember.
I'll tell you why that they put her in there.
Why?
They wanted male and female Jedi. I mean,
that's true. Yeah, representation.
That's the thing. It's just
they
like
wanted to fill
all
it out.
the Jedi we love.
It would have just been
are
Ahsoka.
typically male Jedi, and then Ahsoka,
and then
like
Leia.
Star Wars is
it's
more
so
than
cool
that
they
now,
use so many
it's-
Clone Wars. The official voices of those characters now, because most of them didn't speak in the prequels, are the Clone Wars cartoon
and that's true. I
voices,
totally
which is
forgot
kinda
about that.
cool,
They're
too.
very important because of Clone Wars too. So.
Isn't that crazy though? But dude, and everyone's like, I gotta say it now because I'm gonna forget. Everyone's like, I like that they put the voice. I wish they would have thrown them in there. But I thought to myself, it's so much more payoff for me as a fan to have watched Clone Wars all the way through like twice than to have watched Rebels all the way through. To then hear these voices and be like, you know what? They don't need to show them. If you've seen the shows and you know the voices, I mean, it's like the fact that Kanan Jarrus was in a saga. I'm getting chills talking about it. The fact that Kanan Jarrus is now in a saga movie is so satisfying to me because now I'm like, wow, what I spent so much time watching has given me, even if it's slight, it gave me so much payoff. The fact that they give him a whole line. It's not his rise. He literally says like 4 things,
Right.
Rey, this is on you now or something like that. This is in you now. But I'm gonna keep going. Mace Windu, there was 3 I could pick out instantly or 4 I could pick out instantly. Mace Windu Samuel L. Jackson was undeniable. Like I could hear it. Qui-Gon Jinn.
You could, Especially, I didn't think he had to drop the MFer, but I mean that's
cool
that's his
that.
thing. So yeah, it's like the first Star Wars movie. You get a 1 in PG-13. You get 1, so there you go. It's Sam's.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course. Ewan and Alec Guinness. I like they threw that in there. That was nice. Kind of cool to think what they could do with the series now as well. Yoda, Adi Galea. I now refresh my memory on that one. I don't remember that one at all. Adi Galea. Is it the that's the one with the things, the little plastic things. Yeah.
She gets like impaled against that thing by Savage Opress, but he like headbutts her with his horns.
Okay. Kanan Jarrus.
Here you go.
That was
going
so
deep,
satisfying.
Guys. We're going deep.
Love seeing his name show up. And
and I still haven't picked out Kanan. I've heard that he's in it.
There's
I'm
a
like
YouTube
so
video. There's a really good YouTube video that breaks down each line and who says it. So I'm a forward that to you. Qui-Gon Jinn was another one at the very end. So like, you know what? My thing going into these movies is, as long as they show us something interesting or peculiar, I'm satisfied with it. What upsets me is they should have showed their faces, and I agree that would have been cool, but I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm not going to be upset at the fact that they didn't show their faces. I heard them, and I know their voices, and Yeah,
that was one of the things I struggled with at first because I really, really, really wanted Hayden Christensen in this movie. And story-wise, I don't know if it would have made complete sense in the eyes of our main characters because Rey has no real connection to Anakin.
Nope.
And Ben doesn't even have a connection to Anakin.
Nope.
He thought he did.
Nope. Love that.
The only thing it would have done is finish out Anakin's, or, not finish, but just like a callback to Anakin being the true chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have screamed and hooped and hollered and done all the stuff and he showed up, especially if he was the one who, I don't know, while she's blocking the lightsabers, he like shows up behind her and starts like using the force to do something.
Yeah.
But I think that would have maybe like undermined Obi-Wan's like, I can't help you.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help you fight. That's not the Jedi way. I mean, I think that was the point. And the fact that the Force Ghost now can like control the elements or catch physical objects is cool.
Yes.
I'm down with it. But yeah, if they pulled like a Harry Potter and they all came and like defeated Palpatine with her, visually it would have been amazing. But I think that would have undermined a little bit of Star Wars lore and Obi-Wan's line for sure.
And then this is the beautiful thing of it too, because you brought up a good point, and I only say this because it makes sense too, because it would take away from the fact that Rey is now. All of them are within her. Yeah. Maybe even helping her at that moment too.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Maybe they were giving her like energy.
Yeah.
And that's like the closest
she dies. Like, she literally exerts herself so much she literally dies. Her spirit goes away. And the cool thing was people haven't mentioned this either. The fact that she's using both the hero saber and now Leia's saber to do it, because that represents Anakin and Luke in one saber. This represents Leia.
Right.
And the fact that she is crossing them, going to defeat him, and, he gets, like, shredded to bits, and then he gets bolted in lightning. It was just, like, it's awesome. And then she dies.
Did anyone else think that she was going to totally, like, just chop off his head?
No, because then his plan would have been successful.
I thought she was totally going to pull an Anakin.
His plan would have been successful. He said his plan would have been successful if that was the case. Yeah.
And the Sith essence would have gone into her. So it was Palpatine who destroyed Palpatine, basically. Which is what was happening to him in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Which caused him to do great parallel.
Yeah. So they did the job this time. Like if Mace would have done that to him, probably
would have kept it going.
Maybe it wouldn't have killed him.
No, but
I mean, maybe it did if he sat there for like 3 hours. Yeah. But they're
hold on, he's not done yet.
But people are criticizing that. Why didn't he just stop? I'm like, I don't know if you can stop at that point because it's like I don't know. This is not real life, but like maybe the fact that like like a lightsaber is like deflecting, like maybe it's just like an ongoing current. Yeah. So maybe you can't stop. And yeah, it would have been cool to see him fight with a lightsaber. Sure. Would have been cool for Luke and Anakin to come and have the Skywalkers fight him. Yeah, sure.
Should Ben have done it? I don't think so at all. No,
I think Ben. Without Ben, this wouldn't have happened. Like he served his purpose in this movie, and he was also one of the Skywalkers that rose. That was one of the things when Palpatine threw him, "As I once have fallen, the last Skywalker shall too." And paraphrasing. Yeah. And John leans over to me and goes, "What's the name of this movie?" And so
he pulls himself up.
Those are all and it does satisfy the huge Star Wars fan in me to like have all these Jedi be there.
Yes.
And what I think is the world between worlds.
That's
when
a
she
good
looks
point.
up.
Yeah.
They didn't blatantly say it, but like all reality
stops.
Is I don't know what's that word, irising out of her mind, and she sees into space. Yeah, which is the visual for the world between worlds.
The same exact visual that actually Ezra has when he communicates with Yoda. All he sees is Yoda as a figure, and then that star space behind her. And then if you think of the world between worlds, it's pretty much just this platform, really, with star space behind it. So yeah.
There's a good chance that's what it was. Yeah. For us, awesome. For casual fans, it makes sense too.
Yeah.
Right. And then so all that was awesome because you got to have the Jedi speak. Yeah. I mean, I love hearing Obi-Wan start it. It like calls back to her Force vision.
You are now in your final steps.
Well, and Anakin being one of the loudest voices towards the midsection of that too.
What's the line? Hold on,
so powerful. What was this line that he said that when he said one before that, but then the bring balance as I once did.
Yeah, bring balance to the Force Rey as I once did.
But you have to think he did do it. I mean, that is
he did it. Like
he
that's
did
the
do
thing.
it.
So he is still the chosen one.
He did it, but it's just that the whole this is all of this is perpetuating the entire sequel trilogy only happened because Palpatine darn him.
Yeah.
Just held on, because that's the Sith way of things. Is not they cheat death. The Jedi embrace it and are gifted with being able to retain their identities. It's I don't know, just yeah. And also, it's kind of funny, the big like claw machine thing that he was on, like claw arm. I didn't notice that at the beginning, but he was like
oh yeah,
I don't know, like claw arm. Like someone was saying, it looks like you were playing a claw machine and pulled out the ugliest prize or something. So
let me see. I'm looking it up right now. I saw a YouTube video that had all the lines completely broken down. Let's see. Oh, it's been taken down by Disney. Of course it has. Well.
They are relentless. They are relentless.
Well, I mean, I get that. That's a huge thing to have it be leaked out there.
Oh, yeah.
But with that being said...
Well, and they also pay all our bills, so, you know...
Oh, you got them right here?
We're
Good for you, Eric. You're the best.
Screenshot.
Okay, well, these are the lines that were stated exactly. Obi-Wan, these are your final steps, Rey. Rise and take them. Anakin, Rey. Ahsoka, Rey. Kanan, Rey. I love those three in that order. Mm-hmm. That's a great order. And then it's Anakin. Bring back the balance, Rey, as I did. Ahsoka or Leia, they didn't know which was which. I think it might have been Ahsoka. The light. Find the light, Rey. Something unintelligible. I don't know if they could really break it down there. Qui-Gon, every Jedi that ever lived lives in you. That's a very good Qui-Gon line. Anakin, the Force surrounds you, Rey. Mace, I feel the Force flowing through you, Rey. Anakin, let it lift you. Qui-Gon, we stand behind you, Rey. Old Obi-Wan, Rey. Yoda, rise in the Force, Rey. Kanan was great. In the heart of a Jedi lies their strength. Obi-Wan, rise. Qui-Gon, rise. And I think Leia even says, the Force will be with you, I think Leia.
I'm not sure.
Leia's got to be like one
of the
last ones,
I know she's got a line.
right?
And then the last one's Luke. Rey, the Force will be with you always. And that's when she rises up and...
I think George Lucas's voice is in there at some point.
Holy
going,
crap.
midichlorians are real.
Here's your midichlorians, right? I wrote it. I had a quote from '77 that I edited, and
it's not too bad.
Real.
What if he said McClunky? just to ruin all of them.
Tell Palpatine McClunky. Oh, it's the end of him. That's good. Just go for it. It'll be great. I'm gonna go.
One thing I will say was I love Phantom Empire. They have whoa, you know what's crazy? Phantom Empire, the Phantom Emperor. That was actually a Gene Autry serial. The Phantom Empire, and so that's kind of cool to think.
Was it really?
That's actually they called him the Phantom Emperor, but it's one of those serials that probably inspired George. It's a very weird country sci-fi thing where Gene Autry, the main character of course, the Gene Autry movies, he goes to like this underground world where, or underground Earth, and he like has to fight this very weird society of people that are all also robotic and human. It's very weird. But the Phantom Empire, I love that he's called the Phantom Emperor. But I loved about when he takes the dyad away from them. You know, he takes that life force and he does it just for a second, and his fingers grow back. And I love that movie. He's like, what is it? Dyad in the Force. One has not been seen for thousands of generations or whatever, 100 generations or something. So it kind of makes you think, oh, there might be a, Revan and apparently Basta. Is that who it is? I think
Bastila. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not very versed in that
neither mine.
side of it, but like people were just shouting that out. But that is a good call and stuff for sure. We could definitely I don't know, they're revealing things in the Skywalker saga. You reveal the big things in the Skywalker saga, which is now currently at an end. Currently, at least we have no more blood-related Skywalkers. We have Rey, who is spiritually a Skywalker.
I want to talk about that too in a second.
Spoilers for the end. But I know the future of this, we could go back in time. We don't know what we're going to do, but it would be cool now that all this stuff that we've introduced is going to get played with.
The dyad, cool. The idea of a dyad's kind of cool because darkness rises and light to meet it. I mean, maybe Kylo was becoming stronger and stronger in the dark side of the Force, that it then had to manifest in Rey, who was now then a Palpatine. That phrase is very interesting because you can kind of cross-reference all this now. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. I think it's great.
Right. Well, first of all, how cool was it to hear Palpatine? It was weird and also kind of neat to hear the word Empress Palpatine.
Empress Palpatine.
Just kind of like interesting, like. Yeah, he called her Empress Palpatine. Take the throne, Empress. I was like, wow, that's interesting and cool, and also like, wow, that's so weird. Gosh, I got derailed again. Darn it, Jerry, you derailed yourself.
No, I'll be out. With the part where she gets the dyad, he realizes they're a dyad, and he takes their life force away from them. And it must have taken half of their life force, but the fact that he comes back full on Revenge of the Sith look at Palpatine, and he's got like the slightly red
in a nice, like, it looks like Palpatine going to prom.
Yes.
And stuff, because he has like a nice like red shirt and stuff.
He got to make a t-shirt.
Maybe it was an ascot, I don't know. But it's funny, it tricked me because he had like the almost looked like button up.
A nice belt,
and then it was sticking out of the sleeves and stuff. I was like, he's looking sharp. He's like, I put on my Sithy best to come here and kick your butt.
Look what you have created.
Look what you have created.
Yes. No, dude. Just the whole thing about Rey and Kylo being so powerful and stuff. Luke in Last Jedi, again, going back to how Last Jedi informs this movie. Luke says, I've only seen raw power like this once before in Ben Solo.
Yeah.
I didn't fear it enough then. I can't remember the exact line,
but still,
like all of that makes more sense. It's like we've been this whole time people have been complaining, why is she so powerful? No one said anything about Kylo, just FYI. But they're both, why are these people so powerful? And the answer is because this is something, the Force is answering this evil that will not go away. It's like, okay, Anakin did it for a while, but it's not. We're gonna have to pull out all the stops. We're doing a dyad.
Yeah.
We're doing the dyad, guys. We haven't done it in a while. We're gonna try it. Trial run. Let's see. Hopefully, he doesn't become prom night Palpatine.
But then I think
give me that action figure.
Well, one of the better sequences after is the second all the ships get there and save the day, Palpatine comes to ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think, and I saw in IMAX. I didn't tell you in IMAX that the thud of the boom when he uses the Force lightning was way stronger than the AMC one, actually.
Really?
Way worth it, yeah. So, he does it, and it was like, it's like whenever the bass drops, Yeah. It was so good, though. It was just, I forgot. I wish it would have said unlimited power. He said something of equal, something very Palpatine like that, and he just does it. And it's just like, the lightning looked incredible.
F this noise.
Yes. No, I think in regards to the Rey and Kylo thing, I think TLJ is going to have new meaning because you bring up that line in particular. But I love now that whenever she looks into the Force, the dark side mirror, he's like, show me my parents. But her parents were nobody. Let's be honest. I mean, they might be the son of her father is the son of Palpatine, but that's not to say they are somebody. Palpatine could have been getting around. I mean, like that. That's a cool thing they opened up too. Like, when did he do this? Is he a clone of Palpatine? Was he, I don't know.
Yeah. So I actually don't want that Disney Plus series. I don't want to or maybe I do, where it's like Sex in the City, but it's like Palpatine and Coruscant, going around like, oh, Miranda, you will never guess what happened last night. Oh, Mazamida, let me tell you about my sexcapades.
It's probably it's probably just one of his infinite plans, and it just didn't work out with the generation underneath him. And then he got, somehow or another, he got the information that the granddaughter
he was sidelined by Vader, and then
maybe I don't know. Maybe during the original trilogy somewhere, seeing Luke or knowing about Luke and maybe trying to be like, well, maybe if I have a descendant, they'll be like extra powerful in the Force or whatever or something.
That's clever.
I don't know.
Well, I've seen I was on I don't know if you guys caught me on out there in listener land on Around the Galaxy's post game show, but someone brought up the fact, and this is something I kind of thought too. Palpatine was all about the cloning, and all that kind of stuff. Not to go to the classic Star Wars. Oh, they're a clone.
Yes,
but maybe he had somebody hey, worked for Jango and stuff. But or maybe he created he didn't get it on with anybody. Maybe he popped a baby in someone's tummy like we think he might have done.
I wish that was answered. That's the only thing I kind of wish, but that's pipe.
But,
that was
again,
pipe dream level.
I guess
that was. But I mean, in the comics, it's alluded to.
I love though that.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Right. I love though that we're talking about them being nobodies, and I love that Kylo did drop. He said the way he told it was like they did choose to be nobody.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a cool thing. You wonder. There's just so much in it. I'm really excited for a Snoke Palpatine backstory book of like kind of the whole like because I've thought ever since like this trilogy's been going and they introduced Snoke, I'm like they're probably going to wait until everything's done. Then we're gonna get like a Darth Plagueis style novel
great.
of
a
like
good book anyway.
The strings like being pulled behind the scenes, which again can be argued like why not show that in the film, which I don't know, like we can't again like I think I got upset last week when we were talking about Last Jedi where I was like we can't have a freaking funeral for every person that dies in Star Wars. We can't slow down and just go like, all right, hold on, all right, take off your hat, Han, and we're gonna have a little funeral for Akbar here. But I know in canon what I just said makes absolutely no sense. But I don't know. I love Star Wars.
No,
that's all.
No, it's interesting because there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that are kind of overlooked, and a lot of things that now give credence to the things that are going to happen either later or that happen in this movie. And I would love the idea of all the open end holes, like you said, with Plagueis and Palpatine, like the Snoke thing. That the fact that Snoke was in a test tube, that was freaking crazy. That's the first. That was the first big spoiler they even dropped. It just they don't even say it. Kylo Ren walks by it, and it has a close zoom of it, and that's it. And it's like I remember my cousin I just saw with him on Saturday. He looked at me as like, what was that? And I'm like, I don't know.
No, remember, because Palpatine, when he comes in, he's like, my dear boy, I made Snoke or something. It's like, what? Okay, Palps, slow down, bud. Slow down. Just like a little more Rico Lee me. Rico Lee me. Okay, let's get a little bit of exposition.
If you really care to know about that, that's why you have books, or Star Wars Explained. Exactly. That's why you have people like him. They love lore dives, and I think that's the beauty of it is because this movie was kind of like TLJ in a way, where it was had some open-ended remarks like this is a story for another time, with the lightsaber, and I think the Visual Dictionary actually just revealed how it happened.
How she got it? Okay.
Yeah. I think it literally just fell to the bottom of the thing.
I have to look that up again.
It ended up in her possession, which is just so big. But with that being said, it's that's the beauty of a Star Wars movie is they have moments like that, and I'm going back to it. Just
that bounty hunter that we ran into in Ord Mantell changed my mind. Like I still wonder about that. Sorry. But that's just like that's always been. You're right. That's always been a part of Star Wars. It's like wait. What are you talking about? What's happening?
One thing I do want to bring up real quick is I want to bring up going back to Luke and Yoda. That whole moment on Octo, I thought was great. I love that she knew exactly where to go to get there. But the thing with the Octo moment, of course, a lightsaber gets caught, and they have a great interaction. But I love that he bestows. He bestows Leia's lightsaber to her. And the flashback sequence, which I want to hear your take on it, because we talked about the phone, but the good Bombad people got to hear what you have to say, because it's a very good point.
Yeah, so first of all, Leia's lightsaber design is amazing.
Oh my god, it's amazing. That's
really cool looking. Yeah, gold. It's like very like elegant and almost royalty like.
Yes.
Where like Anakin's is very like working man, a working class kind of. But it's cool, Anakin's is iconic. So let me just like talk about this scene as a whole. Mark Hamill like kills it. Oh. He is perfect in the scene.
It's amazing.
His hair is amazing, coming from a long-haired boy. Yeah. It's like even longer than it was in Force Awakens, but like I don't even care. Like it's just ultimate Jedi.
Right.
He is the Luke that everyone knows, whether you liked his arc during Last Jedi or not. He is the Luke that is at the end of it, of Last Jedi, and he is the Luke of the OT.
Return of the Jedi,
yeah.
Thank you for saying that, though, because I feel like people are like really not holding on to the end of that.
Yeah, they don't realize that like towards the end when he's running down to go when he like sees them like, you know, with the door closed and in the cabin thing.
Yeah.
He's running down to tell her like, I'm coming back to the resistance.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's doing. Like I've been wrong this whole time when he feels his sister.
Yeah.
Which is a cool callback to this movie when Kylo feels his mother fading, and that's what totally gets him to turn. You know, Star Wars is a family drama. I think that's something that I said when we were talking Revenge of the Sith. But anyway, so then when he brings her into the room to get the lightsaber, we get the this movie is not Ryan, like it has no Rian Johnson look at all until you get the flashback of the two Skywalker's training. It's almost like Ryan shot it.
It really is.
It's got like the very similar cinematography and very different lighting. And you know, they did that on purpose so you know this is the past.
And to make the CG look better. If it was a brightly lit area, it wouldn't have looked as good. The darkness around and I gotta say, the one with Mark Hamill is definitely the best I've ever seen in regards to the face recreation.
Yeah.
Leia's okay, but
so Scott,
Leia's made me think I was like immediately like
it looks like a video game.
Yeah. But still look amazing.
I got a picture on my phone right now looking at Leia's. Leia's is good.
Well, Scott told me something about this scene as well that he should talk about.
Yeah, I didn't know this, but I saw this on Twitter in regards to the whole Leia interaction and this, that apparently Billy Lord was the body double. Was that what it was? Yeah, Billy Lord's the body double for this sequence. And they put They put Leia's face over Billy Lord's face, which is amazing because like they have a very similar body structure. If you look at pictures of comparing them together, especially from the time, you know.
Yeah, Mark Hamill's is really good though, but of course his is from like a low angle and like the way the like they could get away and they shadow half his face.
Yeah, half his face just
so. But he's got the green lightsaber, which is like something people want. And
yep, which we haven't seen.
Where is that lightsaber? Did it get destroyed?
Very true.
Like, did it get destroyed during the Jedi thing?
I thought that's what he was going to give her at first. Like whenever he's like, I got
that
something
cool.
That's what I thought.
That would have been cool. But it's way more poetic, the fact that it's Leia. And the story they tell with it, you remember it better than I did. Because wasn't it because she realized during her last night of training that
the end of her Jedi path ended in the death of
her son, which is so cool because it shows that she interpreted the future wrong, like Anakin did. You know, like Anakin, what Leia ended up doing, you know, calling off her training might actually have ruined it for her son later down the line, which is kind of cool because that's what Anakin ended up doing. Anakin ended up acting on his vision, which then ended up causing Padme to die. So it's kind of like that Skywalkers are acting way too much on their intuition and not letting like destiny play it out or fate or, you know, that letting it fold out as it should.
And then,
it's almost like the Skywalkers are bad at making decisions or something. And like TLJ knew that. Like Rian Johnson knew that. I don't know like, what's going on.
And then let's talk about the end of the scene where Scott cried like a baby because I looked with when she says, I destroyed the Wayfinder. How am I supposed to get to Exegol? And he says, you have everything you need. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts to the bird's eye view of the X-Wing in the water. And all of a sudden you start to hear the shaking of it. And
I was sobbing.
You cut to Mark Hamill just standing there with one hand, eyes closed.
And like smirking. And like he had concentrated, and then by the end of it, he
smiles.
Full ones, and we haven't seen Luke smile like that, I don't think, ever. In Star Wars, I don't think he has like a scene where he smiles.
Gotcha.
Maybe at the end of Return of the Jedi, but like he's like grinning and he's like, I did it. And like, I'm getting just talking about how that's when it also was like, man, this is my favorite for this reason because like I love the Yoda moment. Mm-hmm. I do, and I think
they're playing his theme, right?
Yes, they're playing Yoda's theme.
Yeah,
they could have easily done the Force theme, and it would have been cool. But the fact that they throw in Yoda's theme, and it's like. Just shows how full circle that character's become. He's so strong that not even that he's that strong, it's just like, you can do that. Like, he can do this. Like, I've overcome this. I did understand the Force, but now you will understand it in your time of need, too. And the fact that Ryan set up the X-Wing there, that gives really good... TLJ needed to be seen because there's only that one shot where you see the X-Wing in the water. That's it.
Right. Well, and gosh, I've had to do my own little like Star Wars counseling with this. You guys are gonna like look. I'm usually like Mr. Like I like Jedi rocks and all that stuff and all that. And I've had to do my own Star Wars counseling because darn me, Luke took one of the S foils off and used it for his door.
Yeah.
On TLJ, and I was like, okay, that's okay.
Yes.
But make me feel better about the smirk because whenever the couple of times I've seen it, and I'm hoping it gets better as it goes on, it felt like Mark Hamill was in like a 1980s sitcom opening where he's like pulling a slightly overdone pie out of the oven and like, oops, I must have overdone it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like we're gonna make it. Again, I'm not to diminish the moment. It was a cool moment. I was like, oh, that's awesome because that was set up in TLJ and stuff. But I just stupid brain.
There's a couple of things that I had like that in the movie too.
Make me feel better.
No, it's I think just the music in the moment and how it hit something in me that like as a kid I loved Yoda, of course, who doesn't? But like I showed my students actually 2 weeks ago. I'm teaching them forces and how forces are applied and how forces are taken away, how forces transfer. I've been teaching them that past 2 weeks, and I just taught them Newton's 3 laws before, and I showed them the clip, you know, like how can someone so strong be able to move something like this? Well, he used a lot of force to do it, you know, and that's their answer. I'm like, that's awesome, you know, you realize that it takes a lot of force to move something takes a lot of force to move something that's very heavy. So for me to see that scene like 3 times throughout the day, and then, you know, I had been watching the Bombad build up, and this is like the shot for shot visually, you know, exactly like what we saw, and Rey's disbelief.
It's a beautiful moment.
And right. Luke's satisfaction. And then what comes next, like I said earlier, I love that Dio, you know, the fact that R2 is like, wait, Red 5 is on, this makes no sense. And even R2's like, his data bank sometimes gets messed with this logic board or something like that, you know? His data bank gets messed up with his logic board, a storage bank. And it's like, no, he really is, that's Red 5, that's Luke. You know, that's Luke's X-Wing. It's like, oh, it's so cool.
Well, see, I loved all of that. Like, so that was completely necessary. I love that. I love that about that. And so, you know, I think what I need to, and again, it doesn't bother me as much now, but I just like something that I've really held on to. And so I'm going to, like I always say, be one with the force is with me, and let it go and realize that this is fake and in space.
Yeah, I get that.
And that it's okay. So. But no, I love that. I love that though, and I love that you like. That's such a. It is such a great like parallel for Luke's journey. It's a great like bow.
Yeah.
On Luke's arc. That like that's a big thing for him. That's a big thing in Empire Strikes Back, and then boom, there it is. So thank you. You did make me feel better. So you're very. No, I think it's just because it looks like he's like stifling a laugh, and so like, my first couple of showings, I'm like, what are you trying to do, Mark? What's going on? What are you hiding? What are you hiding behind those playful eyes of yours, buddy? Come on. Anyway,
I digress. Can I just say something cool about this movie that, you know, I'm not very like present on the Twitterverse, but this is the first sequel movie where we get the big 3, at least one really good scene with the big 3. Mm-hmm. And like the one scene that kept making my eyes water was, "Hey kid." Oh. And then Kylo turning around.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah, it's weird for Star Wars that like he's like visually seeing a memory. Mm-hmm. My hope is that canon goes back and they say that Leia was the one who was conjuring that memory for him. Mm-hmm. And then it's just so beautiful that Kylo gets a literal second chance to go through, and they almost shoot it exactly the same. Yeah. But instead of being inside of Starkiller Base, you're on the outskirts of
that's beautiful,
of the Death Star, which is destroyed.
The second Death Star. Yeah,
because of a redemption arc. And you're sitting there and you're watching Kylo say,
"Eric,
I know I have the strength to do it. I know what I have to do, but I don't know if the strength to do it." Mm-hmm. And he says, "You do."
Oh man, that like got me. So that was the part that really got me. It was like
the part that kept getting me though was just him saying, "Dad,"
and
like
his face is so
face is shaking, and then also it just cuts to Han and he goes, "I know." Like,
such a great use.
You know, he could have definitely, and like Adam Driver is a good enough actor to have pulled off a "I'm sorry, I've always loved you," or I didn't mean
Yeah,
like
it was too perfect. That entire scene is absolutely flawless.
Yeah,
it is.
And he's been haunted by this the whole time.
It's
Ray
beautiful.
has said it in the
Made
beginning.
it very clear.
You've been haunted by what you've done to your father.
Yep.
And
TLJ, she says that. Why would you do that to him?
And
Look at TLJ. Strike me down in anger. I'll be
So that'll get me probably every time I watch it. And he turns around. Dude, I'm gonna be honest. For a second, I was like, "Please don't turn it on again and like ruin the memory, like the memory just fades."
Yeah.
But after the dad I know, he just turns around and chucks it,
Uh-huh.
and then he turns around almost with like a smile,
Yeah,
and then like
to see him again.
and then it fades when like it goes away, and like my explanation of why this is so meaningful to me is just like every male. Like I don't care if you have the greatest relationship with your father. Like at some point in your life. You hated him.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You were just like, because I don't know if it's like this like caveman instinct we have inside of us. But like, especially when you hit adolescence and you're like growing up, you're just like, well, I don't want to like, I never want to be like you and like, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And some
absolutely.
people are in such and not just men, but like the fact that like as a male, I can identify with like this bit right here being like, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
For guys, like that's why there's like a stigma. Like guys always have a tougher time telling each other they love each other or something. Just because you have like all this testosterone.
Yeah.
But this scene breaking down, it's like literally one word, him just saying "dad," and I'm just like, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting next to my dad while I'm watching this the first time. I'm like,
oh man. That had to be such a that had to be such like a profound experience though, like watching that with your dad, because that is like. I don't know, man. Like, you're saying you were about to like cry. So I don't know, like, just can you elaborate more on that? Because that's got to be so.
I mean,
cool,
specifically for that scene, like my dad recently has gotten more into Star Wars, mainly because I've been very invested in this like version of it because I'm old enough to go on the conventions by myself. I mean, I'm not joking. I think once a week he's like, "Show me the clip from Celebration," or he refers to it as Chicago. And I just roll my eyes. I'm like, all right, I'll play it. Like, I was there.
Yeah.
Like, I lived it. He's like, no, man, this is so cool that people are into this. I mean, he's probably the reason I like Star Wars. Yeah. I think we probably had it
my dad's the same
on VHS.
Way. Yeah, that's the reason why I like it.
He never really got into it like I did.
We got to think, we were raised with the video games that then immersed us more. And like,
I mean.
We were prequel babies, too. So
you guys are pretty cool, but I was like right in the middle of that '90s era sweet spot where it was like the Bindums and then the action figures started coming out again, and like we were like inundated, but at an early age. All of us, so.
It's so cool, and like you said, you got to think about this too as well. This is the first time ever that a Skywalker, quote unquote, has had a time to talk with their father on screen in a moment like this, and like that was always the big thing, like. These Skywalker men have never been able to get along and never had, except for, I mean, guess I'm wrong. I'm actually wrong. Return of the Jedi, Luke does get closure, but it's more for the sake of Vader. Whereas this is more for the sake of the son now. Yeah. It's Han giving closure to his son Ben, and it's just
a lot of people were like, "Oh, it should have been Anakin," but like I'm like, no, like
that would have made no sense.
Yeah, it would have been cool. Because we all wanted to see Anakin.
Yes, but
like
I mean, he would have actually. It would have been cool because he would have been like a Force ghost and stuff.
But like Ben would have just been like, "Who are you?" Like,
oh, you're my grandpa who was bad.
Yeah, but like he actually had like experiences with his father.
Yeah, he killed his dad. Like it's like he thought, and the best part is in the Force Awakens, he thought that doing this would make him. All right, I'm full on evil now, and then it just killed him more. It hurt him more, and I think
it just made him feel more empty. Yeah.
Kylo has never been truly. After the Last Jedi, we're like, all right, well, he's the big bad now.
Yeah.
But this movie proves that he has always been struggling with the call to the light, and all it took was family and stuff to bring you back, which is the whole point of this whole thing.
Yes, and also, one thing that we've now learned, not only is family bringing you back, but denouncing your family when you know it's not right is also a thing. And I think I want to get into that now that we now we kind of worked our way to it. But the idea of the last name, it's like the fact that a Palpatine and a Skywalker have been at odds ends this whole sequel trilogy is very tastefully done. And it kind of gives you a different perspective on sequences that happened in these movies prior. But also, the idea of Rey then denouncing her family name is so awesome because she was longing for this name this entire time. And not only does she doesn't take on the name of Solo, which is really awesome. She takes on the name of Skywalker, you know? She takes on the name of the people that trained her, which is both Luke and Leia. And the legacy that established through them that there is a chance for redemption. And one thing I thought was very cool was the Skywalkers, I saw this on Twitter and it kind of blew my mind. The Skywalkers are selfish by nature in their own regard, but the Solos, Han and Ben, are both pretty selfless people, right? You know, they sacrifice themselves in a lot of situations, which, you know, we see Ben do, but we also see Han do it in Solo, you know, Star Wars story. And, like, the fact that Rey has been, you know, part of her life forces from Ben now is kind of... Not only does she have the life force of a Skywalker in her, but it's also life forces of a Solo, too. And she's been around all these people, and her denouncing her name in front of Palpatine was amazing. It just shows that, like, regardless of where Rey came from, she still is not what she always wanted, which was to belong to a family. And
right. She had a part in the story.
Yes, she
but
did.
It was the part you'd never want to have.
No.
You don't. Nobody wants to be the Hitler.
No.
The space Hitler. You know, like, that's not a good one to have, right? So it's just, so brilliant. I know a lot of people were, like, upset with the the quote-unquote overturning of Rey Nobody.
Yeah.
She comes like how a no one, you don't have to come from greatness to be great. But I think that's still a powerful message in The Last Jedi. You can still take that movie and take that as a lesson you can grab from that movie. Just because this movie reveals something else about the character doesn't negate what that movie said.
Mm-mm.
That's 100% true. But this movie also introduces a new concept, like you've been saying, Scott, that your family's history, the history of people that came before you does not have to define you.
No.
You do not have to be, like, bound to some sort of legacy that is wrong, evil, or even just something that maybe you don't agree with. That's a very powerful, very cool idea that they brought up in this, and that's why I think I get a little upset when I see people saying that, like, she had to be related to this, she gets her power from a man and stuff, and it's like, to me it wasn't even about that. I know some people are like okay, well, that's why she's so powerful, but to me it's like, for Rey the character, the hardest thing she could ever hear in Last Jedi was, you're nobody. You're not related to any. You don't have anything. Yeah. Whereas now she has this family. She has everything she's ever needed. She still feels empty, and she finds out, no, you know what? Your legacy is actually, you're like a plague on the galaxy. Yeah. Like, your family, like, enslaved and murdered trillions, and you were just one of the worst of the worst. Yeah. Or your family name is, and that's... How hard is that to overcome?
I couldn't imagine, you know, and
it's staggering.
Well, like, this is kind of where it gets into it, and of course the ending of this movie is amazing. I kind of want to get back to Ben's stuff in a little bit, but like the idea of, you know, when the lady, and of course they ended on Tatooine. That was another moment that was
kind of neat,
dude. And I looked over to my stepdad when we saw it, because I saw it with my stepdad on what day was it? Yesterday, Saturday, and he had full on tears in his eyes, and I started crying too. Whenever he, my stepdad's like a football coach, like this is the kind of guy, like he's a head football coach. He's like, he's a tough dude, and he gets emotional at Marvel movies because that's what he grew up with, and he loves Star Wars movies. But the fact that they ended on the, you know, and I don't know if he even liked the character of Rey, but the fact that she was like Rey Skywalker, and then they looked to the twin sons. I'm gonna start tearing up about it now. It's just like. It's so good, and the fact that she buries the lightsabers of the people who trained her so deep into the ground, and Eric and I talked about this too last night on the phone, but that idea of Shmi also being there, her body is also there, and at this homestead where the Skywalker's legacy is, and when she buries the lightsabers, it's almost kind of cool to think like, if Ryan ever did do the movie that could be taking place in the future, they could stumble upon these two lightsabers in a sequence where it's like, you know, it could be, I don't know, it could be very well done in regards to what they could do with future stories as well. And Rey Skywalker's awesome, and she's not taking it on because she has to. It's because that she denounces the name of evil. The Skywalkers are triumphant. inevitably.
Right.
And I love it. Rey who? It's awesome. That whole sequence is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just think logistically as well what it does. When Force Awakens came out, we were all like, "Who is she? Is she a Solo?" Which I was like, "No." I had a couple friends who like really thought so.
Right.
And honestly, if you just watch Force Awakens alone, there is like some credence to be had there, just like from things that people say and then how they look at Rey.
Yeah.
And blah 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 blah. People wanted her to be a Skywalker. But I'm like, Luke wouldn't have had kids because he would have studied the Jedi lore. He would have learned that that's like not part of the game.
Yeah.
So you get to do this thing where she's nobody. She has a legacy past, and she's a Skywalker, but not really. She
that's awesome.
She adopts herself, or she adopts the name Skywalker.
God, it's awesome.
And I don't know. I think the point of that was to make everybody who was thinking these things by Force Awakens feel something.
Yes.
And like people are feeling things, whether that's good or bad. But people are like, well, she should have just taken the Palpatine name and like turned it good. I'm like, would you Jared just said, would you keep the last name Hitler if you didn't believe in that stuff?
I'm bringing it back. Here we go.
Like
I'm gonna bring it back to glory.
No, like you don't just. I don't know because like Palpatine didn't hide his name. Like Vader didn't say like I'm Anakin Skywalker. So that situation wasn't there. But it's cool. This movie's called Rise of Skywalker. Like it's just
it's so front.
It's one of those things. Also, all these movies have had like double and triple entendres for like what they're about. And this movie,
so good
again, and all coming from one sentence, which is pretty cool. We talked about that last time.
Yeah, we did.
But anyway, no, I thought it was a cool way to end on the legacy planet Tatooine. The sun's looking like BB-8 for a second.
That was cool.
Which is just like your one like physical representation of the new sequels, of the new trilogy.
Yeah.
And and then Luke and Leia watching over her for a second.
I think that's the part that got me more emotional was like they approved it, I guess, in its own weird way.
Yeah.
You can be a Skywalker too.
It's like they were there during her like signing or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
right.
The fact that Daisy really did it so well. Like that whole scene's so good, and like BB-8's. It's cool because the torch has now been fully passed, and I think they even mentioned it way back in 14 or 15 that this is going to be the saga that passes the torch to the new generation. And.
Right.
With this, it finally happened. That scene in particular, it's like it's done. She starts up the new lightsaber, and it's gold. It's just like, damn! They did it so right.
Oh yeah, and the fact that it's like part of her staff.
Which
like we all thought like she's gonna do a double blade. I don't think it's double bladed. You've watched it more than me.
It's not. It's not. It's single bladed.
Well, and it's like this tall too.
Yeah, it's small. It's actually very small. It's not a full staff.
Yeah,
Really?
she like took out the middle part.
You know what I noticed though?
Yeah.
I didn't mention this. There is a gold kyber crystal, a bald gold kyber crystal.
You saw it?
Yes. Whenever she's whenever she's looking through the books, it's on top, and she doesn't have her staff there, but it's just a gold ball.
Get ready for the comic, folks.
I know.
Like the year in between.
Yeah,
they're gonna show you how she got it.
One thing I want to get into, because we're going to be closing out this discussion fairly soon, bring up the force healing introduction. I know you want to talk about that, Jerry. What did you want to bring up about that?
Well, just that. Okay, first of all, we don't really want to do many spoilers for the Mandalorian on here, but it was this was a pretty big plot point in the episode of Mandalorian that came out the Wednesday before the big premiere, and so that was kind of nuts. And then you have Rey in there. What was it? The first instance is when they're on Pisana. They fall into those tunnels, right?
The snakes.
And they run into the snake, and the snake is hurt. Mm-hmm. And she goes and she like puts her hand on it and heals it. And it's almost like the same exact like scar pattern. I don't know if you on the Resistance broadcast, it kind of talked about how it looks the same as like what's on Grief Karga's arm that Baby Yoda heals.
3 cuts, kind of.
But what you have with Rey healing the snake, I never really put this together until I was scrolling Twitter today. Just kind of, like, I was just, poking through the dumpster fire to see if there were some good pieces of refuse to pull out and save, maybe hang on my wall.
Yeah.
And this was brilliant. Someone said, how is no one talking about the fact that Rey in Last Jedi, another connection to Last Jedi, calls Kylo a murderous snake. Ooh. And in this movie, we have her healing a snake, a murderous snake.
That's wild.
Foreshadowing what she's going to do later. I mean, it was foreshadowing because it's like, oh, look, she's got a Force heal now.
Yeah.
Force heal's a thing. But also just thematically, like, I'm going to show kindness to this
beast,
essentially cold-blooded killer.
Yeah. That's beautiful. It is kind of awesome because, and this is also another thing too. She could have learned this from the books, but this also could have been something that the dogmatic Jedi forgot about. If Little Man can do it and go Force heal Grief Karga, then Little Man can do it, and he's not doing it out of intelligence. He's doing it simply because he wants to heal him. And he tries doing it to the Mando in Episode 2.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's...
Well, and one thing I did notice, about Rey and her healing of snakes and stuff. This is, what is this, a Harry Potter movie?
Yeah.
I know, but... No, you've got Rey when she... Okay, let's skip to when she heals Ben, finally. Yep. We have that moment where Leia comes in and stops Ben from killing Rey, where Rey takes that as her opportunity and almost kills Kylo, and then realizes what she's done, hears Leia, and then blah, 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 she heals him. I have not noticed in either one of my showings, again, I've only seen it twice.
I know what you're going to say.
They brought it up on Force Center. I've heard it brought up a few more times. When she heals him afterwards, he doesn't even have the scar that she gave him in Force Awakens.
My mom noticed that the first viewing, and I'm like,
goes
Mom,
away.
How did you notice that? Because I didn't even notice that.
Well, how deep is that, too?
I know.
How much symbolism is in all of the healing? You got the healing of the snake first. Then when she finally heals this person who's been... They're connected, yet they've been like so at odds throughout this entire trilogy.
For no reason, too.
To think that, like, now she's like, it's almost like I'm taking it all back. I'm sorry for all the hurt I've caused.
That's good.
There's something so beautiful and powerful in that is just, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I cannot wait to go see this again. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, can we put it on digital yet? Disney Plus, can you like do something for me? I'm like dying here. I watched that same scene of Kylo Ren and all them like telling Bulio bye like 50 times.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be like out in February, huh?
You think February, March? February, March.
Yeah, it'll probably be on Disney Plus before.
But then we'll all be in Clone Wars and stuff,
Oh my God,
Lord, that's true.
And apparently Dave...
all three of us are going to be in a Clone Wars days, man.
Oh, Lord, we have to do a rewatch.
Dude, straight up, I'm sorry to cut in, but like I've seen it twice and I have not noticed the scar. Dude, I heard it today.
I still haven't noticed. I found it.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, the fact that she heals the original wound that she gave him. Mm-hmm. My mom noticed it the first viewing.
How huge is that? My
goodness. Oh, I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you.
I was just saying, how huge is that? That blows my mind. It's just, I don't know, there's just so many implications. Again, there's so many things in this that you can do an episode unto itself.
Yeah, and the best part is this is just the discussion afterwards, but there's gonna be some more themes thematically that come back and we realize later too. Now to kind of get towards the end, the idea of Bendiption, the way it was executed, I don't think they couldn't have done it better. Just the Han being the kind of the way that leads him in, and just I loved it. I loved it, and I didn't know if I wanted him to be redeemed. I thought it'd be cool if they did something different. They didn't redeem the bad guy, but damn it, they did it right. They did it so well.
Well, and it had, like we were saying earlier, it had to be Han because there was a big section of the fandom who were like, I'm not going to forgive him because he killed Han Solo.
And if Han can forgive him...
Which I was one. Yeah, it's like if freaking gruff Han Solo...
Yeah.
Man, gosh, that scene I think that is my favorite scene. Like, that's the Luke on Crate talking to Ben scene for me.
Yeah.
In TLJ. Ultimately it's the continuation of that, isn't it? Because of the whole, like, if you strike me down in anger, I'll be with you, always be with you, just like your father.
Just like your father. Damn, that line does have more weight now.
I'm telling you guys, do not sleep on Last Jedi. This movie is so informed by TLJ.
I will say the "Hey Kid" kind of sounded like Mark Hamill impersonating Harrison Ford, and I was like, "Oh, Luke's about to talk to him."
I thought it was gonna be Luke too,
which would have worked in a way, depending on how the conversation went. But the big three are in one movie again.
Yeah.
They're not together like I thought. I thought it would have been a flashback or something. But the fact that they got Harrison to come back was really cool.
Yeah,
it was very cool.
But yeah,
gosh, what if this had been exactly what everyone thought after TLJ when Luke was "See you around, kid"? We all thought, oh, he's just gonna haunt him further.
No, but that's not the Jedi way
in the
either.
next movie
that's
and stuff. So we essentially thought that the Rise of Skywalker was going to be like a remake of The Ghost and Mr. Chicken or something.
What? Well, the way his redemption is done to me is done so well that it's not like Vader, where Vader realized what was going on. It's like Ben had to sit on it and be like, you know what, I have made mistakes, and and the good thing is everyone's like, oh, Rey, and I don't even want to address it, but Rey is Rey just falls back in love with him even though he's done all these horrible things, and it's not that. That's where the character gets lost, is where everyone tends to forget about Ben as a character. The whole reason he turned is because Palpatine apparently was plaguing his mind and touching into his mind when he was sleeping in his dreams and in his training, and then Luke makes the mistake of accidentally igniting his lightsaber, causing Kylo Ren.
Right.
Luke is...
The entire sequel trilogy is the fault of Palpatine.
Yes.
It's Palpatine's master plan to get revenge on the Skywalkers.
Yes.
He makes their life a living hell.
Yes.
Because he hates them. He got frickin' thrown down a shaft.
Yeah.
By Daddy Skywalker.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This entire trilogy is tied together.
Yeah.
Because Palpatine, this doesn't happen if Palpatine's not up. I'm a little pissed off at you guys for throwing me down a shaft.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Come on.
It's a good point. To kind of get into some the final moments, I think, for Ben, which were probably some of the best moments in all of the sequel trilogy, when he shows up and he wrecks house with the Knights of Ren, and the Force
Dropbox.
The Force Dropbox is so good,
so good,
it's
earned,
so much payoff from TLJ, but it also is not only that. It's just it was set up through the whole movie so well, and then it's just she will strike me down, and whatever. It's just kind of like Snoke's moment, but it's opposite,
Yeah, Ooh. Just the way it goes behind Rey's head,
and then
so cool,
comes up like this.
So good.
And
good.
I pointed this out to a few friends. Scott picked up on it after we talked about it, but just the fact he pulls out the lightsaber and then kind of does the Han Solo shrug.
Yeah.
Right before he just wrecks shop.
Oh, it's
so good.
It's you're gonna die now.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is kind of related, unrelated, but this movie brought back using the Force while jumping.
Yeah.
And it's all over the place. But I think the most epic one is in this sequence where he does this weird fly over one of them, and it just lands behind one of the knights and stabs him behind his back.
Yeah. Very prequels.
Yeah. No, there's some stuff about it that I really liked. But anyway, no, yeah, he comes in and kills the last one.
Yep.
Revealing that he's there for her. Mm-hmm. Does Rey say Ben at that point?
No, I think nothing's said.
Okay.
And the best part is I think probably the most iconic shot now from this movie was when the two blue lightsabers are side by side. Mm-hmm. And you got to think how cool it is. One is Leia's and one is Luke's. And now Ben has the Skywalker saga.
He has the hero's blade finally.
That his grandfather used to. It's just
that he was petulantly trying to get at in Force Awakens. That lightsaber belongs to me. He finally earned it.
Yes,
finally earned it.
Yes, it's just it almost makes you I don't know. It's just so cool to see this lightsaber go from this to this. Exactly, Jerry. I didn't know you had yours up there too. It's just exactly, iconic ignition sound.
Little sizzle, guys. Little sizzle.
It's weird, man. It's one of these things where I see what people. I see why there's some people against what happened in this movie, but what I don't see is looking past all that and looking at it from a thematic point of view and how much it implies the themes of everything that came before it, and the fact that then not only does Because the whole thing, Kylo Ren's denouncing his family name, but he accepts it in this moment, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so cool to think a Palpatine and a Skywalker are now paired together as a dyad, but also paired together to kill the original Palpatine. It's just like...
Yeah.
Yes.
People who don't like that decision, like, you just got to think, like, what is the story of Star Wars?
Yeah.
And it's like redemption, hope, and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, there's literally...
Soap opera.
Regardless of if you didn't like the execution, like, Kylo Ren was going to get redeemed.
Yes.
Ben Solo was going to return. And,
Right.
you know, after their kiss, which is something Scott wants to talk about, you know, you can interpret this smile as a few different things, but he's finally at peace.
Yeah.
Like, he just smiles.
That
Like, he's
conflict's
like,
gone.
and the reason, I mean, you know, you can interpret the reasons of why. Like, maybe he loved her. Maybe he wanted to save her. You know.
I'll get on my soapbox real quick. Can I get my soapbox?
Yeah, go for it.
I've told this.
Do it.
I've told
Pull
this.
it out.
I've already had arguments, and I don't believe in social media arguments because I don't think it's convincing enough. Because you can't. And this is one thing I hope everyone's listening to this right now. Don't go and argue your point for this movie. Just know that you enjoyed it. Because arguing over social media, you'll never get your point across correctly. But I had a discussion with some friends at a show last night. They're like, you know, I was like, you got to think about it from a thematic point of view. Like, I don't like the whole Reylo thing. I'm like, you got to think about it this way, though. You got to realize that Anakin selfishly desired Padme to live and his mother to live. That's all he wanted. He didn't know why they were dying, but all he noted was that he wanted them to live no matter what. Anakin turns to the dark side.
He wanted them for him.
Yes,
right.
He wanted, and he says it. You know, you and I can rule the galaxy together. It's just like I killed all these Jedi because I was told to, because this person can help me save the one I love, which is huge, right? But the beauty of it is, it's so selfish, and Vader does not become selfless until he ends up killing Palpatine. You know, in front of Luke. That's where his one moment of selflessness,
giving his life in the process,
giving it. So then,
as well.
How beautiful it is that Ben parallels literally his grandfather exactly, but he corrects the wrong that his grandfather
And his father,
and
honestly.
and his father too.
His father, like, who always had, like, a little bit of a me kind of, like, struggle.
Yeah.
Even though, like, he does do a lot of good, but,
Yeah.
like, he always struggled with that.
Yeah.
And he, for Leia, goes and faces
his son,
knowing that there's a good chance
he's going to not come back.
that he's not going to come back.
Yeah, and he now, not only does he parallel his grandpa, he does parallel his father as well. Damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. So each act in regards to Vader ends up being a selfless act. But Anakin's problem was Anakin was selfish, you know, extremely selfish. So for Ben to realize how selfless this act was, and to then give his life force to Rey, and not only give the final bit of his life force, but Leia's life force apparently too, because when Leia faded, Ben faded, which was...
Or it was reversed.
Oh, reverse. When Ben faded, then Leia faded. And
yeah,
it's amazing.
Just that whole, and I mean, you know, Maz has the line when Leia goes before she passes on after she, you know, tries to contact Rey and Ben, where she's like, she knows what she has to do to save her son.
Yeah.
And it's just such a beautiful moment of she wasn't going to leave. Like she tied her fate to Ben's.
Yes.
And it was that, again, like you were saying, she misread her the vision of the future.
Yep.
Where her Jedi, the end of her path, her Jedi path was the death of her son.
Yes, and it's like it is that, but it's not how you think it
beautiful.
is.
Right.
So well done.
And I love, like, what you're saying, just the whole, like, Anakin, all he ever wanted to do was to keep his people there with him.
Yep.
Because he wanted them to be with him.
Yes.
Ben was like, I love you, and I would rather you keep going than me. Like, I will give my life for yours.
Yep.
Ultimate selflessness.
Yeah, and the fact that she can then continue the Jedi legacy through the life force of Ben as well. He gave, right. and that might be something that might show up later too, because not only did he didn't give just a little bit of the life force, gave all of his life force to keep her alive and keep her coming back.
She was dead, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you look at, like, it was like someone was saying on a podcast I've listened to since before we recorded. Kids are gonna see dead Rey.
Yeah.
Like dead.
Yeah, like a dead limp body. Yeah.
Floppy dead Rey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like picks her up and stuff.
It's intense. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
I love that he looks around too,
scene.
and there's no one else to help him. Like this is, and the best part is this is all because of Ben's mistakes too. If you think about it as well, because Ben, if he had only kind of maybe taken Rey on and not such a dark side way, they could have already defeated Palpatine. There could have been a whole different story if he hadn't been so hell bent on being bad, you know. But
right.
With that being said, this is where the movie comes to a really great close with the kiss of life, because it's not. I don't think it's just a kiss, and it might be a passionate kiss, but you point out Rey goes for the kiss. You know, Rey leans into it and kind of initiates it.
But they hold it for a while.
That's and they do hold it, yeah.
That's why I think it is him like giving up everything at that point.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And his death is so poetically done, and he fades. And
then, he just smiles at her one last time and just flops.
Yep.
How do y'all feel about this interpretation with like the hand on her stomach? People are like, did he impregnate her?
No.
That could be interesting.
You were talking about in TLJ how Luke walked out of a vagina. So
yeah, that's true. I'm joking. I did bring that up. It's true though. I did. No, I did say that because like it's the rebirth.
Because you were making a very good serious point. It was
visually it makes sense. But unfortunately, my Mon Cala sperm opera was not correct. Like I had predicted a while back.
I don't know. I think there's some credence to that. But
there's a little bit. What I've seen the most of is like people being very, and look, I'm not going to say it's unwarranted. People were very taken aback by the fact that Ben did in fact pass away.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like say you're wrong. Your opinion is invalid.
No.
Like like hey, we all go to Star Wars in different ways. Just again, as long as you're not treating people bad or calling them, you're not Star Wars fans if you think it's okay. But I will say this. What I love about it is, again, like you were saying, the selflessness, but also I'm always one who like brings up like scriptures that I think are kind of relevant to Star Wars and stuff. I went to school for biblical studies, guys, so I know a little bit about it sometimes. But there's a verse. And it talks about how there's no greater love than this, that for someone to give up their life for a friend and stuff. For you to give your life for a friend, or someone you love. There's no greater love than that. So in the end, Ben Solo's love for Rey was so much that he was like, he died. He gave it up. So I understand people having criticisms about it, but I just think that, to me, and from my background and perspective, that's the ultimate form of love, rather than them having a happily ever after going off. Now he gets to be with his family, and the Skywalkers fade into legend, even more legendary status than they ever were, because we don't have any blood Skywalkers anymore. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
No. One of the biggest things too, like you said, biblically, the idea of Christ gave all of his he gave himself to the world sacrificially, and the only Son of God sacrificed himself for the sins of others. With that being said, it's like it's almost been kind of making up for what Anakin did, the mistakes Anakin had made, and the mistakes that his forefathers and the people that came before him had made, and even this mistake Palpatine could have made whenever he made Anakin, possibly, or the mistake Palpatine made whenever it's just like forgiveness is something that often gets not overlooked. Redemption's one thing, but forgiveness is another, and to forgive is just as strong as to love. So absolutely. Well, and in doing so, ultimately, do we think that Ben Solo is the one to bring balance?
Fully bring balance?
I don't know.
in that, I mean, he gave his life force into Rey and stuff. He, I don't know, like, did he fulfill finally
What do you
the
think?
rest of it?
I gotta know.
Eric.
Yeah.
We want to know.
I have no idea. That's definitely an interesting way to look at it. I think Rey is the one who brings balance to the Force in terms of Star Wars, but she couldn't have done it without Ben.
Oh, the other dyad, the other half of her, the dark.
Yeah, and like that's
damn.
That's one of the things. Like Kylo Ren is like probably the best character in the sequel trilogy, and that the fact that in Last Jedi they are like, in my opinion, the co-leads.
Yeah,
like it's both of their movies. Yeah, it's both of their movies.
Right.
So, in a sense, like maybe he is the one who also. I don't know. That's a nice thing about this.
I think now that you're saying that, I lean towards both of them because you got the light and the dark, and I've never been one for like you have to have both light and dark for it to be balanced. But that's very interesting.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's something that I think will be explored in the future. There's probably going to be a novel coming out next week,
yes,
or something, right? Like the official novel.
Oh, I don't know.
When is the official novel dropping?
That might be actually more February or March-ish.
Okay.
Last Jedi's novelization didn't come out until it was like a month
March.
until they released it. It was like a month almost before they released it on VOD and Blu-ray.
Gotcha.
I think this was an amazing discussion. I can't wait to hear the feedback from our fans listening to our first comeback after the Bombad build-up. But I do want to get to one thing. We reached out to everyone on Twitter, and thankfully we got some really good reactions. I want to play for the listeners now. We'll talk about what they said and things they might have made points to about their reviews of the movie. But
Chase even submitted one, so
nice.
Pretty cool, I know.
So with that being said, we got let's see, Devore. Okay, so here is his voicemail and his review of the Rise of Skywalker.
Hey Scotty, hey Jerry, this is Devore. So it is Friday morning right now. I saw Rise of Skywalker last night, Thursday night, and I don't know that I have a reaction to the movie overall. I think I need to see it a few more times to really wrap my hands around it. But I did want to send in a voice memo anyway for one particular reason. At the start of the movie, when Palpatine says, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural, I almost lost it right there in the theater. Like, I was saying it along with him. I just couldn't believe that line ended up in the movie. Like, I just kept thinking about, like, your guys' build-up and, like, Jerry talking about that line and, like, wanting to see that line fulfilled. And I thought it was just amazing that, like, not only did they address, like, the idea behind that line, but that the line repeated in the movie itself, I thought was just incredible. And I was just, like, imagining in that moment that, like, Jerry's head had exploded somewhere or was exploding at that time. So... yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and looking forward to hearing what you two have to say about Rise of Skywalker.
You are very correct, Divorce, sir. My head exploded like 50 times. Like the entire opening of the movie, like my head was exploding. But as soon as he dropped that line, I'm like elbowing my buddy who came to the movie with me. And be like, I leaned over, and like I couldn't really say anything. But like after the movie, like we're walking out, and like I'm trying not to say anything spoilery for the people around us, who are outside waiting to go in. But I was like, so that a lot of that Palpatine stuff I kind of called.
Yeah.
And I was so geeked. It was awesome. But like that's so awesome that you were thinking about that too, man. That makes me feel so good.
Well, one thing I want to say too, because a very similar thing happened. Eric was at my house the night before, and we were rewatching the Palpatine scenes together Wednesday night, and they said the line. I'm like, dude, I said Jerry's got this big thing right now where he's convinced that this line's going to show back up in the movie, and if it does, it's going to be amazing. And literally, he says it, and this was the first moment you and I looked at each other in the theater. Because we leaned completely forward. We're like, oh, what?
Dude, Jerry, I'm wondering if they literally just copied and pasted it from, like, his speech in Revenge of the Sith.
It sounds just like it.
And just added some, like,
I don't know.
vocal stuff.
Reverb or something. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, because I'm going to have to go, again, Eric, we're gonna have to like meet up or like get an app or something and watch the movie together or something and just like like really like dig into that because I do not know, but I was floored. I couldn't believe it. Like I knew, like I was like, I think this is a way they could take it. Never did I ever think they would actually like repeat that line in the movie. So I was just like, I might as well have been like upside down on the floor.
Yeah, pretty much
on my head, my feet up in the ground, like I was dead. But no, thank you so much, DeVore, for sending that in, man. I'm glad someone was thinking about me during the Rise of Skywalker. My twisted soul needs all the thoughts it could possibly get.
Okay, well, our next one's going to be from Seth Parnell.
I will say Seth Parnell is a good friend of mine. I actually went to college with Seth Parnell.
Okay, well,
very good friend. So
let's hear this reaction real quick.
Hey, Bombadcast, this is Seth, and what a great movie we just watched. I thought it was fantastic. They did a really great job from start to finish in concluding this series. It had to me, it had a great sense of finality to it. I mean, things had escalated, to this point to where somebody had to win, whether it was the light side or the dark side. With the fleet, everything having a Death Star weapon on them, somebody had to come out, victorious. And so, it had a great sense of finality to it, but it also had some good, lighthearted moments as well. I think Finn and Poe and Rey and they all had some great chemistry. Had some good, lighthearted moments, which I enjoyed. Poe was able to. He kind of shined in this movie. He was in there a lot and did a lot of good things. I really liked the new character, Zori. I really enjoyed the scenes that she was in. I kind of wish she was introduced earlier in the series, because I understand you can only fit so much in one film. But I thought she was a very interesting character to see. And the rest of the cast did a good job as well. I thought Finn kind of got... He kind of got pushed to the back burner a little bit. We didn't really learn anything new about him, but of course he was always kind of in the supporting cast as he went along and trying to protect Rey. It seems like was his main goal, and I was disappointed in the fact that him and Rose don't seem to be together anymore. And whatever happened between this and The Last Jedi, it seems like they were. They broke up or something. I thought that was one of the few really good things that came out of The Last Jedi was their relationship. But but still he was able to come out on top with the resistance. And the ending was kind of bittersweet. It was not a happily ever after, as I kind of hoped, with Ben not making it. I thought the symbolism would have been cool to, when I learned that Rey was a Palpatine. If you had the Solo and Skywalker and Palpatine, bloodlines all come together and be represented in that one couple, if Rey and Kylo were together. And that kind of be symbolic of the peace that existed in between now that the evil had been overcome. But of course Ben didn't make it, and Rey ends up going back to a desert planet and living by herself, which is where she started. But the one scene, the Be With Me scene where she's drawing on the power of all the past Jedi, that was something that was really special, really incredible. You get to hear Mace Windu and Yoda and Anakin and Qui-Gon. I thought that was really cool how they did that. Really, really special. Just overall, I think that this was they did a very good job with this movie. I got chills, several times throughout the movie when they finally told us, whose Rey's parents were, or more importantly, who her grandfather is. During the final battle, that was very, very emotional time. When Leia, when she passed away, that was a very big moment, as well. And so as a Star Wars fan, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it puts a bow on it, puts a good finish, good conclusion to what is a pretty good series. And so I'd like to say I really enjoyed this movie.
Oh man, Seth, my goodness, it's so good. For one thing, I haven't talked to Seth in heard your lovely voice in so long, but my goodness, yeah, you made a lot of good points, buddy. And I was really geeked whenever I saw that Seth sent one in. Again, me and Seth have known each other for a long time down south, and so it's really cool. Really, really awesome thoughts, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and we're gonna be, man. We are, as a fandom, we're gonna be talking about this movie. Obviously, for years to come.
Yeah, and all the points he made really kind of prove that too, because some of the things he stated are very, very honest and bold opinions. Because you got to realize that these moments will not just go away. It's kind of like how we look at Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back and even Revenge of the Sith. These very huge moments for the story, and I'm glad that most people are acknowledging how big these moments will continue to be. Jerry, we got another reaction from our friend Josh, who actually is in the reaction video for the Rise of Skywalker trailer from Celebration. And Josh Sutter, he's a good friend of the pod. He's been listening to every episode.
Yeah.
He's a real nice guy, and I don't know. I'm very happy to have met him in the moments that we did meet. But anyway, what did he have to send in, Jerry?
Well, Josh again, he's in that video. That's the part of the video that you can actually see my face in, and it's like SpongeBob and the Krusty Krab commercial and stuff. So, but no, thank you. I appreciate that. Was so much fun. I love that. So here you go. Here are the thoughts of Mr. Josh Sutter, the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, hello, Scott and Jerry. This is Josh Sutter.
And Isaac, his best Star Wars friend.
That's right. We just got done watching The Rise of Skywalker for the second time. And we are in consensus that we love it.
Oh, yes. Agreed.
We both walked away from it really appreciating the fact that Anthony Daniels, C-3PO, was more prominent. His lines were more on spot. And every one of them were right where they needed to be.
Yeah. I feel like you got to see C-3PO as I always wanted to see him. All the moments that I knew he could have, but he just never got to have before, finally had them. It made me very happy.
Me too. Overall, I think it was a conclusion that we needed.
Yes.
And an ending to a 9-episode saga that I couldn't have asked for more. It was amazing to me.
We have episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and all this. It's a wonderful new trilogy. Very grateful for.
Yes, I am indeed very grateful, coming from the generation that thought the original 3 were the only ones we would ever get.
Yes.
So.
And for me, who grew up with Phantom Menace and everything after. So. Well done, JJ. Or Dio. Director Dio.
Well done indeed.
Proud of you. All right, gents. May the force be with you.
Always.
Fantastic, man. What a great reminder that this is like a generational story too.
It is.
You know, gosh, guys, like you're getting me geeked. Like we have cried together on the Celebration show floor.
We
like
all did.
That is a bond. That is a bond that is not easily broken.
No.
So, guys, man, like. I salute you, gents. Like that was just, thank you for sending in a voicemail. That was so cool that you guys thought about it. And so, no, it did like, I don't know, like Scotty, you talk because I'm just feeling.
I know Eric
emotions.
has something to say because we didn't even bring it up this whole episode.
Yeah,
why did we?
3PO is a baller in this movie.
Amazing.
And Anthony Daniels brings it.
Yeah.
He gets to play essentially 2 different characters.
So good.
And that was one of the big things we were like, oh, what are they gonna do? The 3PO, is he gonna like his memory, like something about Vader, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, we didn't no idea what it was gonna be.
But honestly, I kind of love the version that they gave us because he got to be like old school 3PO, like kind of a joke, like being like, well, we need I think Poe says something like, you speak like a bajillion languages, but the one time when you just speak, you can't do it.
It's against his
It gets to be a joke.
Yeah.
And then he gets to do the Sith thing. And then he gets to play like baby C-3PO, where he's like, they say something about Baba Frick, and he's like, oh, I know Baba Frick. He's one of my oldest friends.
It's so funny.
They met like 20 minutes prior.
Well, and that whole thing with R2 too, where he's like, like, oh, I would know if I had a best friend and stuff. He's like, well, you're not going to do that to me. Like, put the memories back in. And like
probably one of the greatest cuts of Star Wars.
It's an amazing comedic cut. He's like, you're gonna do what? And then it just cuts to like R2 like bringing his memory back.
Well, then, the line he says. You know what the line he says?
I haven't figured out what he says after.
The line exactly is, "I'm going on Mistress Ray's first mission." It's the exact line he says. So I didn't realize until the third viewing. I'm like, what does he say? So I sat there and re-listened. I closed my eyes and says, I'm joining Mistress Ray on her very first mission.
Ray.
So yeah, Ray. So I don't know what her first mission was. So that's kind of cool.
So when did he bring his memory back?
It must have been maybe a year ago. Maybe he caught them all up on what's happening. So
I didn't even pick.
Wasn't right before.
I guess I thought like maybe they were like saying like this is her first official assignment or whatever. With the Resistance, I have no clue.
I think it was like the exact line was, R2, I'm going on Mistress Ray's first. I'm with Ray on her first. Whatever. With that being said, though, C-3PO was a absolutely incredible character to kind of revamp and then play into like the quirkiness of that character. And I think this was. We all said Mark had his movie, Mark had his movie, Harrison had his movie, and of course we all said that this was supposed to be Carrie's movie, but it was kind of both Carrie and Anthony Daniels' last movie too, for the characters, and it's very well done.
Yeah, no,
very well done.
3PO is definitely
he took a back
shining.
burner.
Yeah, he's shining in this movie. Yeah, and it's awesome.
Absolutely.
So good. And our very last voicemail is actually from my best friend Chase, who listened to the podcast a couple of times, but Chase is super casual, sees the movies when they come out, usually sees them on opening out with me. He lives in Seattle, so he's missed a couple of them recently, but he came and we saw Solo together like 2 nights after it came out, and then we saw this together the night it came out, and Chase is gonna try to, he says, if we have a panel, Jerry, which we're gonna get on that. If we have a panel, Chase said he will buy a ticket and buy a day pass to go see it. So, with that being said, I know
that's awesome.
So with that being said, I'm gonna play his reaction to the movie, and he's super casual now. This is like the kind of person that sees them once.
We're gonna hold you to this, Chase. Yeah, okay, you're coming to our panel.
Definitely. All right. So here you go. And actually, Chase is the other co-lead actor in the movie that we've been working on, Eric and I. So let's see. All right, here we go.
As a casual fan, I felt like this is my favorite Star Wars film. It felt like it was just an amazing cap to the series and had the most action of any of Disney's Star Wars. I also felt like it was a reunion of the Star Wars characters. And I also enjoyed seeing the other side of Ben and Rey's relationship. It's also crazy to realize the absolute power that Emperor Palpatine has in the Force, and it's pretty clear that Rey has got that power as well.
And you have that power too. It's kind of cool. It makes that line a little bit different,
nice.
Yeah. That trailer line. But loved it, Chase. Brings up a good point. He kind of summarizes that he likes it most of all the Disney movies, and I think it's a lot of people leaving. My mom had that reaction too. She said this is the best one they've put out. That Disney Lucasfilm has put out, since the acquisition. And I think all the casual fans that have seen it, I think are really coming out saying that. That's why the fan review...
my dad said something like that.
Yeah, the fan review has been amazing for this. The critic review, not so much, but it's... I think the diehards have something to say, but I think the casual fan, the people that will pass this movie down to generations, they are...
Yeah, that's the thing. This movie is not dull.
No, it's not.
Like, the reason people dislike it is not that it's not exciting and stuff. It's just decisions and executions and... different directors and stuff. That's what it comes down to. That's the stuff.
Nitpicks, right?
Yeah, that's the stuff the hardcores get into. And But no, like the casual moviegoer, like this was an exciting, non-dull movie, and like the pace is probably the best for that
fan. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
because it is a ride. It really is a ride, and it's a good ride.
100%.
Just like on the surface, like it is a fun, good ride. So, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a great point to be made because we tend to get caught up in our own little world, like our own little Twitterverse or Facebook, Reddit, all of it. We all get so caught up in it in our own communities, but you got to think this is not just made for Star Wars. I think if less, 5% of the people that go see this movie are the nut jobs like us. Honestly, I mean 10% maybe at most.
Yeah,
and then the people that casually go see it who aren't reading the comics or the books or watch YouTube videos or even listen to this podcast are the ones that this movie is also made for. So, like, with that...
You better be listening to this podcast. No.
But with that being said, like, I love that we had the whole spectrum, you know? We got Josh, who's a super fan. We got Chase, who is super casual, and just how he is as a person too. He loves talking about the movies.
Nothing wrong with casual, man. I dig casual.
Exactly.
Casual is like that's my life motto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything casual.
Fly casual.
Yeah, fly casual. Yeah. But
I don't know. Fly casual.
With that being said, let's kind of close this up. I want to say I really enjoyed talking about this with y'all because this was something that needed to be said, and the points that are made, hopefully it might change a deter's point of view just by listening to it, because
I definitely think y'all should do a revisit of this when the home release is out.
Totally.
If you want me around, I'll gladly come and do it.
There we go.
But I think
Eric, you're always like a force ghost in the background of this podcast anyway. All right, man. Like you fade into the background, but unlike Ben Solo, you actually show up.
Hey, I'm down with it. I think that's going to be a big deciding factor on how you feel in general about this. And then, in 15 years when Jerry's kid and their generation grows up and how they feel about this whole thing.
Yeah, it's true. And that's a big thing. And especially with what's coming too for the content-wise. Like, I know we got Mando wrapping up next week, but like, think the rest of what we're going to see out of maybe these characters might even be through a streaming service episode or even a one-off show that they might have.
Yeah, so. One little quick tidbit I have is that Kathy and Bob Iger both had some interesting things to say.
Bring it up. So we can
so Kathleen Kennedy's little quip she had, somebody asked her something about... On the carpet.
Yeah.
I think it was... it was Andy Gutierrez with Star Wars Show, was asking her, how does it feel to be closing the Skywalker saga? And she's like, well... We may be closing the Skywalker story, but that doesn't mean that a Skywalker couldn't reappear at some point or another. That was her wording. Maybe not exactly, but the big verb was reappear. And I was just like, bruh.
Yeah.
That means we're going to get something.
Yes.
I don't know if that means, I don't know what that means.
And that's head honcho.
Ben Solo talking to Baby Yoda, something.
Well, I think they dropped the ball a while ago when she said that they wanted to do more movies with Rey and stuff like that. I don't know.
These characters,
Right.
Movies. That's what they said.
Why wouldn't you continue that? Right. Well, and John Boyega saying, you're not going to Disney Plus me.
I think that was just like a lighthearted.
I think so too. Which if they back the Brinks truck up for anybody, not that they're like all about the money, but like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You're going to do it.
That was interesting. This one may not so much have to do with the Skywalker saga, but somebody was asking, I think it was Variety, was asking Bob Iger about, Kathy said that there might be no more trilogies for Star Wars. How do you feel about that? And he's like, well, I don't know about that. That's how he started like the rest of his sentence. He's like, we've talked about doing like a movie and, trilogies are tough. So maybe we'll do a movie and try to do a sequel, but you never know. So they have plans for Star Wars movies. They've kind of confirmed that the next one is 2022. And in the same interview, this is something I have not told you to this moment. Bob Iger says, our next release is slated for the next couple of years. And he goes, and the next one's really important.
Ooh.
And like, that could be so many things. That could be like, we're setting the tone for what the rest of the Star Wars universe is going to look like cinematically.
But I think in interviews, haven't they also mentioned like, how do we tell a story of Star Wars without using the tropes of Star Wars? And that was the big thing has been discussed as well.
Yeah.
How do we talk about Star Wars without saying Star Wars? You know, how can you identify that this is a Star Wars film without having a TIE fighter or an X-Wing or a blaster?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So, but I think they're finally getting their footing down on how to appease so many different kind of fans. There's so much content out there. Celebration's going to be wild in 9 months.
I can't even believe
we're going to be getting some Mandalorian season 2. We might get an Obi-Wan teaser. We might get some sort of announcement with Diego Luna's show. We might get some sort of announcement with the films going forward. And I'm sure there's other shows and video games and in the you know, early stages of figuring that stuff out.
Right.
So, it's exciting. And unlike 2005, this is not the end. I don't feel empty.
No.
So, even if I don't 100% love this movie, I just love the fact that I love Star Wars. And that there was like a good 7 years of my life where I just kind of pretended like it was over.
Yeah.
Like, I my fandom is done.
Right.
Yep.
Now it's a nostalgic thing when I go back. It's not an ever continual thing for me. And that's kind of how we grew up. Like, you had like a thing and you liked it and then you were done. Like Beyblades. I liked it. And it was over.
Pokemon.
Yeah. Pokemon, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, done. Over.
Yeah.
It was a phase.
Yeah.
That's kind of how Star Wars was. But now it's never gonna end.
No.
Ever. So it's just one of those things like, I'm just excited.
Yeah, it's so nice to know that it's not over.
Yeah,
and the way they ended it was not as finite as the way they ended Revenge of the Sith with on Rey Skywalker. It's just like It's and what they did, and what they set up. I don't know. It's we can talk about it forever, and especially in regards to what this movie does. I think it played all the cards right. It didn't. It was not a safe movie. At no point did I go, "Oh God, here's this again." No point did I think that. So it learned from what Ryan did, and it also played into what JJ did. It was the combination of both the feelings of new and old. It was so well done. But I loved it. That's pretty much how I feel. What about you, Jerry? We're good?
Well, I mean, just bask in the light, guys. Like Eric was saying, I mean, like this is going to be like a constant thing for us now.
Yeah.
There's not going to be an end to Star Wars. Star Wars is now a vast galaxy, and they're going to just keep adding to it, and it is just so. I mean, like you said, it was a good ending, but I don't feel like it's done. Like the story continues.
Yeah.
The adventures continue, and ultimately, I love Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's a fitting end. I think it has a great, like, it just ties, again, you always hear the tying a bow. It ties a nice bow.
It does.
On the end of this trilogy. But it does. And regardless of nitpicks or whatever, which exist for every Star Wars, I think I put that out the other day on Twitter, like, I love every Star Wars film. Every Star Wars film has little flaws and little weird things, guys. Just remember that and try to hear the call of the light side. Stop and lay on you stop right now. Stop what you're doing. Lay down on the floor wherever you are and look up through the ceiling into the stars and hear the voices of Freddie Prinze Jr. and Mark Hamill and Ashley Eckstein telling you to just calm the F down and just carry on and be okay. Rise. The Jedi are with you. And just that's such a... This movie introduced so many cool things that we're going to be talking about for decades and decades to come, man.
Decades.
So,
with that,
thank you, JJ. You just gave us like so many more Bombadcast episodes. So, thank you. Send the checks, Disney. We're still waiting. So.
Well, with that being said, all good things come to a close. Both Skywalker Saga and even Season 1 of Mando. So next week, we got to plug it. Next week, we have my cousin Troy back on to talk about The Mandalorian Season 1 and what they did with it. And I'm not going to lie, there was some pretty wild things that happened in the most recent one. Don't want to spoil it for any of our other viewers, but if you want to avoid Mando spoilers, our next episode, and our final episode for the year, before we take a little bit of a break, 2-3 week break, will be about The Mandalorian and our review of The Mandalorian, but with my cousin Troy. So Elder Puck 27, stay tuned for that. But Anyway, Eric.
So excited to have Troy back.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Since July, it's been that long. But Eric, where can the wonderful Bombad fam continue to find you besides being on this podcast every now and then?
I'm going to be in the Dagobah caves.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be hiding in there. There's a couple of secret projects I got going on.
Yeah.
That I cannot talk about yet. Maybe the next time I'm around, I can maybe have a link or something that you could put somewhere.
Very nice.
Other than that, Scott and I are working on a film together called Owl's Nest. I have no idea when that will be out.
Yeah, we don't know. We've still got some stuff to plan out. Actually,
I'm dying to see it myself because I've seen stuff, guys. I've
screenshotted.
Yeah.
Jerry's in on the scoops. He's
Well,
I am. I'm the scooper. I'm the scooper of the Bombadcast and stuff. So
yeah, dude. I mean, you might see it before me. I have no idea when this thing will be done.
Yeah.
But movies or short films or whatever.
Yeah.
They take some time, but yeah. But other than that, I'm hiding.
Yeah, he's in the shadows, and maybe we'll have Eric on more often.
Oh, that would be cool.
Than he wants to, But with that being said, I'm super excited to see the discussions that come from this episode and the episodes that are in the future. But with that being said, Jerry, tell us the story of you. Where can we find you?
you can. Sorry, I just got distracted by something in the forest.
Yeah, something in the forest must have been a tremor in the forest that hurt you.
It was a trip. I felt thousands of voices suddenly cry out, and no, I won't say what they were crying out. Would you ask me? Where can you find me? Did you already say where they can find you?
Where can we plug and find you?
I am so derailed. No, you guys can find me. I am Jerry the Canon Junkie on Twitter at The Canon Junkie. That is the @ symbol, The Canon Junkie, all one word. You can follow us at Bombadcast on Twitter. You can send us voicemails and lovely things of that nature at thebombadcast@gmail.com. You could follow us and all of the people who think you should get a job instead of talking about Star Wars on Facebook at the Bombad Fam, a Bombadcast official group. Go join, guys. We are always looking to up the hanging out cruise there. I don't know what I just made up the phrase hanging out cruise.
I like that.
So,
That's badass.
Trend setter, man.
The hanging out cruise.
The hanging out cruise, man. We got the hanging out cruise going at the dealy whatsits and
How old are you?
I feel like I'm 542 right now. So,
pretty much. 40.
But no, guys, we dude, this has been. Who knew we would make it to this point, Scott?
Oh my God, dude, we made it. Bombadcast actually made it.
The end of 2019, we are on the other side of the Rise of Skywalker. We know the secret knowledge. I had to see my brother-in-law, who hasn't seen the movie yet, he's a casual but also kind of not Star Wars. Like he's big into Star Wars, and I was like so distraught. I was like, I have so many things. I could ruin your entire world right now.
Exactly.
And I don't want to do it. But guys, be respectful out there. Have a wonderful holiday, whatever you are doing. Spend time with family, decompress, maybe take a walk outside and stuff, and go see Star Wars. For the love of everything good and decent, go see Star Wars. And if there's nothing else for you to add, Scotty,
I want to say one thing.
Okay.
Don't let the opinions of others sway your opinion at all. I said swayed. Let me try that again. Don't wear suede. Don't let the opinions of others sway your opinion in a negative way or a positive way. However you leave this film, take what you may, okay? If you didn't like it the first time, honestly, I liked it the first time. I thought it was great the first time I saw it, but I didn't get it. I left feeling a little empty. I'm like, well, this wasn't what I needed, but maybe it is. Saw it a second time. Okay, I understand it now. It makes a lot more sense. I reflected on it all of Friday. I saw it Thursday night, reflected on all of Friday, and thought, okay, I love what they did with certain things. Other things, let's look out for. Second viewing, great. I'm like, okay, I really like what they did now. Third viewing is truly when I determined it was my favorite. And it was literally towards the middle of the movie when Luke had the X-Wing and they're going to Exegol and how the Dio had always been kind of part of the plot, but we didn't. It's just like, it threw me through a loop, and it's so refreshing to finally get something so new and so different for Star Wars. With that being said, please don't scroll through Twitter and see an opinion that you relate to, but immediately act on it either negatively or positively, because right now I think it's a very weird moment where people are either having super positive reactions or super negative reactions. If you need to be the Bendu and live somewhere in the middle, be the middle, then do that, you know? With that being said, yeah, I don't want to plug any of my stuff. Just go and see this movie, make your own interpretations of it. If it's negative, let it be negative. That's on you. If it's positive, let it be positive. That's on you too. But take what you will from it, because this movie is not just a Star Wars movie. It is something much deeper. It's a story of forgiveness and love, and how important it is to achieve both those things in your lifetime. But with that being said, that's pretty much it for me.
All right, and just as another no, not at all, man. Amen to everything. 100%. You let's again, guys. This is supposed to be fun. This is very. It is. This all is very important to all of us. But treat each other with respect. And if I can add another PSA before we leave, you guys, for the love of everything good and decent, do not try to have an assassin kill your son and his wife. And then don't try to have your grandchild that you forgot existed try to kill you so you can put your weird, gross, greasy Force ghost into them.
Yeah.
Just don't do that. And most of all, stay Bombad. And happy Life Day.
Do it.